Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back on this fine Thursday evening. We are here. We are down under. PSGL back on your screens for two more rounds in the PC Championship. Title on the line tonight. I'm joined by Jack Kinnan. And Jack, it's going to be a special one. Jarno Opmeer versus Barry Burremand. Your money's clearly at Barry. I'm at Jarno. Which one of us is going to win, my friend?
Oh, it's going to be hard to call. I mean, it was tough enough making those predictions in the first place, but really, we just don't really know. It's advantage Opmeer coming in to this race, 12 points ahead of Barry Burremand. So, Jarno can wrap it up today, but really, it's all up to Barry to get that flipped over before we get to Brazil next week. So he's got to outscore Jarno today. We know he goes very well. He's been sweating Australia, getting ready for this. So I think he's a good hot tip for this one. But we know how strong Jarno and Mercedes are. Jarno is in flying form, obviously. He's currently enjoying top spot. 3 wins on the spin. The Flying Dutchman is in the ascendancy. And I have to say, if you look at the form, certainly the form book, Barry Burremand, of course, first 3 races of the season, he won. Jarno Opmeer has won the previous 3 races. Can the form book be swapped around here again tonight in the favour of Barry Burremand? He needs a lot to go his way tonight for the title battle to go to the end or into Lagos next week. We've got 2 major races coming up, folks. Obviously, this championship is very much still up for grabs, at least for the time being. Albeit, though, Jarno could put a huge dent in that tonight by winning this race and taking the championship crown. So it's all to play for here in Australia. I've got to say, it's a battle of who's bravest, who is going to take the finish, who's going to take the checkered flag, should I say, and hold on to the lead in the championship. I cannot fathom what we're going to see later on this evening. And of course, Jack, we got some very interesting names here tonight as well. Some new faces. Take us through them. Yeah, we've got plenty arriving in, of course, because we do have, of course, the Pro Exhibition, I believe, ongoing at the same time. So we've got some drivers filling in very soon. We've got Felipe Jesus, the Brazilian, is back at AlphaTauri. Nice to see him back. Jorge Alberola filling in Haas this week. We have, of course, a CRG Smasher. Great to have him. Sam McBride making his PC debut at Alfa Romeo. So nice to have him. 2 reserves at Red Bull. We've got Luke Smith, who filled in so well at McLaren last week. He hops in at Red Bull. And Ruben Pedreño at Red Bull. He hops in this week to fill in at Red Bull. The second McLaren seat alongside, of course, Barry Burremand. We're missing Josh Io this week. Alex O'Grady, the young Irish world champion karter, ladies and gentlemen, 12 years old. Watch out for him later on in esports, hopefully. And I believe we also have Simon Weigang returning to us this week.
Oh, a stacked grid, folks. A stacked grid. And an unbelievable story. And we were discussing this off the air, Jack. Obviously, Alex O'Grady, young pretender, coming in, 12 years of age, a fellow Irishman as well, and a world karting champion. I mean, that's just reeks of racing pedigree, doesn't it? And now he's coming here in the world of esports on Jarno Opmeer, Barry Burremand, pretty much in their front room and coming to challenge the likes of those. That is such a tall order for a youngster at that age.
Yeah, it really is. But to be already fast enough to go up against these guys, it's pretty impressive, honestly. So wish him well alongside, of course, Barry Burremand at McLaren. So he's got obviously a very experienced teammate in him, of course. But yeah, we're getting ready to go very shortly. Full qualifying format as usual here at PSGL. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the championship as it goes. Constructors is done. Mercedes have already won that. But in order for Jarno to win the championship, he's got to be 17 points in front of Barry Burremand going into the next round. So fastest lap, George. That point could make all the difference.
It could. Fastest lap, folks. Now, I want to see your comments in the chat, folks. Let's light this up. Where do you see the title going? Is it going by way of the Flying Dutchman, Jarno Opmeer? Or is it going to the wicked fast Iranian, Barry Burremand, of course, the ever-tenacious character who has come in and whipped McLaren into shape this season at PSGL, battling with the likes of Danny Moreno, trying to split the Mercedes, keep them at bay. Mercedes have done a sterling job this season, obviously landing the constructors' standings for the very first time in PSGL PC Championship. Obviously, the first ever season, Mercedes getting off to a winning start, and Jarno Opmeer will be looking to do the same thing tonight. But obviously, they have got still several laps to take here at Australia in order to decide that very eventuality. But it's all to play for. Like I keep saying, I cannot bear to watch. I have to say, it's going to be absolutely thrilling. We're going to have a look at the pundit predictions as well, Jack. I've gone for Jarno Opmeer, as we said earlier. You've gone for Barry Burremand, of course. So me and you are up against it. Obviously, it doesn't bode well for Barry, because obviously you yourself, Jack, as a pundit, you've DNF'd quite a few in the history, haven't you?
I have. Alvaro Caraton's been my unfortunate victim in the past. So, no, pundit predictions have not gone well for me over the course of the season. So, they have been telling me to go for Jarno so that something goes wrong and we have a Brazil title fight. But, no, Barry, I think, is going to... it's going to be very tight as it was before, but it's pretty hard to call, honestly. It was either going to be one of us choosing Jarno, one of us choosing Barry. That's a given, but let's see what the others have given.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look at that. Big C has gone for Danny Moreno, the other Mercedes man himself. And Manuelos has gone for Alessio Di Capua as well, folks. So I have to say, a very good, strong field in amongst the pundit predictions. We'll have to wait and see who comes on top as we make our way at the Albert Park Street circuit now very shortly. The cars are now beginning to make their way out onto the circuits. We will join them very, very shortly. Jack, just from the outlook and certainly the table, the form has definitely been in the Mercedes camp right now, but obviously still plenty of names looking to bite the top end. But it's been a troubling time for Ferrari, isn't it? Philip Presneda trying to find his best form.
Yeah, it's been a weird one for Ferrari, really. Philip Presneda, he had a better race last time out in Bahrain, but that championship has just completely slipped out of his fingers. He was leading the championship at one point, remember. He managed to take the lead from Barry Bormand as he was missing, of course, getting his new rig. But unfortunately, just hasn't been able to capitalise on it. He took that single victory at Spa and just has been unable to get himself anywhere near the top 5 since, really, at least on the podium. A couple of top 5 finishes, but just not much there for Philip Presneda. He's trying to get himself back on form. And, of course, Tom Martinez, he's had some flashes of some great performances from Tom Martinez. Just does not seem to go his way, really, in qualifying. Or it just puts him out of position. So let's hope for better from Ferrari. They're obviously not going to win the Constructors, but let's see what they can do. I'm interested to see how Red Bull are going to get on today. 2 new drivers in for normally our full Italian lineup of Domenico Lavecce and Dario Iummolo. So interested to see how they get on. Luke Smith performed really well at Abu Dhabi, of course. And Ruben Pedreno, he's a complete dark horse. We've no idea what his pace is like. Interested to see.
Yeah, I can already see, actually, the 2 Red Bulls once again. It always seems to be a Red Bull affliction, folks. They don't run the right numbers. Absolutely shocking behaviour. But nevertheless, we have got, obviously, the pair of them currently in the cars. All the drivers out on the track. But I have to say, folks, extraordinary scenes indeed. Obviously, just having a look at some of the comments. Everyone tipping Barry for the potential win. People don't think the championship would be decided tonight, Jack, which is an interesting thing to see. Obviously, as we make our way through now into qualifying, you can see now the cars are very much out on circuit, and we're seeing a number of drivers now out on the softs. Usually we would see in Q1, Jack, a lot of the wet option tyres on the track, but a couple of soft compounds on as well.
Yeah, so we have somebody out in the mediums as well. We have Tom Martinez out in the mediums, but normally, yeah, we would see a lot more out on intermediate tyres just to save that dry set. But just a couple of people are just not going to opt to come out at all for a first run and stay in and just save those tyres another way. Jorge Alberola is currently doing an old drift session around on the intermediate tyres in the Haas, and always enjoy to see them just having a bit of fun at the start of Q1, just flinging cars around. Donoso was fantastic at it, but Jorge Alberola is doing some great little high-speed drifts through the corners here, and yeah, he'll come back in and bolt on a set of the soft tyres when we get to the later runs of qualifying. So we have to wait to see what's going to happen here, because it's a short lap time around here, about a 118, 117 lap. We're tipping pole to be a kind of high 17, I think, is what we're aiming for with the pole time. But we're definitely going to be seeing kind of 118s in Q1 before we get to the 17s, probably later in Q2 into Q3.
Absolutely. Well, there we are. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for those. We just see a Haas in the distance going for a little bit of a ride as they make their way around Sector 3. But Di Capua there, as you can see on our screens, now making his way round the final sector, certainly here at Australia. And a very fast-paced circuit, this, of course, Australia. Very flat circuit. And naturally, that does carry a lot of speed in the straights. But there again, it does make the chicanes ever more treacherous, because if you do rub on them, it does, in fact, can cause an upset, certainly to your car as well. As you can now see, the Williams is taking a very interesting tactic here, Jack. Just sort of strolling around the circuit almost. I just saw Di Capua boxing. Caraton is now doing the same. That's something interesting. We have never seen anything quite like that before. They're not setting laps. They're just driving around the circuit in a slow-paced fashion. Is there a particular reason for that?
I would imagine just to put as little wear on the tires as possible, and I think that's the only reason, really. He's not using the intermediate tires, he's just crawling around on those soft tires to put as little possible wear on them as possible. Possibly going to use them as a scrub set in the race. They will have a lap of wear on them, but at this pace, they're not going to have any wear at all on them. So I think that would be around the realms of possibility as to why he's just crawling around like that. Or either that, or he's just changing some settings.
Well, instantly
on his wheel or something.
Yeah, could well be. Could well be. He's been going around for quite some time, but there you can see Tom Martinez, fastest lap from the get-go, and albeit those are on medium tyres. And his teammate Philip Prejnader setting a time that's 9.3 seconds behind his, albeit that was set on intermediate. So Philip Prejnader, certainly just getting a banker lap in just to get himself underway here in Australia. And the sun, of course, shining here at this illustrious circuit here in Melbourne. Already Martinez going 2/10 faster in the first sector. And you'd fancy him to carry this one out as they now head down towards the next chicane. And this one being, of course, at turns 9 and 10. And certainly the red Ferrari looking to try and get back onto the top spot. Martinez has been there fighting, of course. Not you wouldn't necessarily put him in amongst the esports greatest, but as a content creator, he comes here with exceptional talent. As Fabrizio Donoso, well, actually, it wouldn't be Donoso. In fact, that's going to be the other McLaren of Alex O'Grady, unfortunately donning the same number as Fabrizio Donoso. So that does explain it there, folks. Obviously, apologies to everyone at home for that, but we do request that drivers run with certain numbers heading into the race sessions here at PSGL, and naturally, because they haven't selected the right number, it does pick up the registered number against that driver off the system. So unfortunately, that's what's happened. But Alex O'Grady on top billing, 119.126 is the time right now. And as he makes his way down towards the next chicane, a banker just to get him settled, Jack.
Yeah, it's always important that you get at least a banker lap in just to get yourself settled in the car, really. That's the main thing, just to have a lap under your belt, just get a feel for the circuit, get a feel for the car, a feel for the setup as well. Of course, you can't change it once you come out and you come into Parc Ferme conditions, so you've just got to get used to your setup and maybe make some front wing changes, perhaps. If you do want to do that, Jarno Opmeer is out on the intermediate tyres at the moment and getting himself used. It's a big day for Jarno. He could wrap it up if he outscores Barry, of course, and he has a 17-point lead going into the next race. He's got it. So he's going to be full focus in mode, as we always know. He's going to try and go for that 4th win in a row, which is an absolute amazing feat if he can pull that off. He's strong around here. I think Jarno and Barry are going to be super closely matched. They were at Abu Dhabi. I think it was 4 thousandths was all it was in the pole, but it was all won in the start last week. Jarno got him into turn 1 and he was gone after that.
He was. It was all at turn 1, Jack. You're absolutely right. And Barry, unfortunately, the strategy just did not work out for him. He could not counteract the Mercedes force. And as Opmeer now makes his way around Sector 3, a little bit of a tail whip there on the intermediate tyres. Straight into the pit lane, though, in cracking style indeed. And there's your potential very first champion here at PSGL in the PC Championship. And we're going to look forward to seeing what happens as we make our way through qualifying. Still plenty of time left, though. Plenty of opportunities for certainly for some upstarts to come round and start maybe making a few changes here. Obviously, we might see some new people at the top end. That's the benefit of having new drivers here at PSGL. You never quite know who's going to hit the top spot. And we had a surprise package last time out, of course, Jack. We had a newcomer on the pole, didn't we? On the podium, sorry.
Yeah, we did. Joe Hannon made an appearance on the podium at Abu Dhabi. A fantastic performance from him. Absolutely well-deserved. He's unfortunately not in here this week. He's been, of course, replaced by Felipe Souza, the Brazilian, who, of course, was with us for a round earlier on in the season and did a decent job then. And a good replacement for Joe Hannon, I think. And he's going to be filling the shoes at AlphaTauri. And hopefully he does well, of course. He's going to be missing his home Grand Prix, unfortunately. He's going to be missing the Brazilian Grand Prix. I think Joe Hannon's going to be in for him there. We'll have to wait and see. But, of course, we don't have, as well, Ruben Vallejo, but Andreas Dormeyer has hopped into Racing Point this week. So, Dormeyer and Dylan Warren are the lineup at Racing Point, with Nicholas Longe, of course, at Renault. He's hopped in this week, of course. Normally Dormeyer would be in the Renault, but Nicholas Longue returns in the Renault alongside Jari Fitz. So nice to have Longue back. And I think, you know, he's always like a thorn in the side for the top runners. Of course, he's incredibly quick, proven race winner in F1 Esports, and you know, I think he's going to be maybe mixing it up with the Yarnum and Barry battle later on.
Yeah, he could well be, and I have to say it'll be brilliant to see, as we now see Dormeyer making his way around. Strong footing here for Racing Point, as instantly now Simon Weigang hits top spot. Of course, his first appearance in PSGL for quite some time, and he goes within a tenth of a second faster of course the Red Bull, who we will identify shortly in P2. But I have to say, great return from Simon Weigang, who of course we've missed for such a long period of time, but he's now back in the Alfa Romeo, and certainly looking to draw an impression here today in qualifying. Naturally, a very good time to get us underway here with just over 7.5 minutes remaining, but yet again, still loads more times to be fielded at this timing tower. And if I tell you what, Jack, if they leave it too late, it's not going to leave a lot of opportunity for another lap time, is it? Because plenty out on the track at the moment have yet to send back banker laps already in the mid set of Q1.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you get your first runs on the dry set right. Alessio Di Capua getting very sideways on his run. Alessio, of course, he was mixing up at the top end in Abu Dhabi, but the race just didn't really go his way. That was the first race we had a safety car in PSGL PC. We had two of them within the space of a couple of laps, of course. Jarno Wattmeyer having to adjust his strategy on the fly, and Danny Moreno, unfortunately, DNFing from that race. Of course, the first DNF for him this season. And Alessio Di Capua, he's on his push lap right now, just getting a Pedreño in the Red Bull, gets out of his way as he pushes towards the line. Simon Weigang leads, of course, the Alfa Romeo 1-2 with Sam McBride Smasher in P2 at the moment. And Di Capua, he has that car set up with a lot of rear end. That thing has just been flung around, and it goes across the line. He's invalidated that lap, unfortunately. Felipe Sousa slots to second, and not a good omen, George, because Otmir has actually just disconnected. Yeah,
not a good omen at all. Otmir has disconnected, and we've only got just over 6 minutes left. Longue, though, hits the top with a 118.4, and that sends him over 3/10 faster than Simon Weigang, so a great visit indeed from Nicholas Longue. And I have to say, it just goes to show the quality is absolutely in abundance across this grid. And you can see that Jari Fitz as well in the Renault, joining Longue here today. Two very good team, certainly two good drivers for that team. Renault will be delighted with that. Moreno hits into P2 as well. And, of course, the other Mercedes driver we've seen at the top end, the Spaniard, the machine, Danny Moreno, who has been absolutely illustrious as well this season. 2 wins to his name as well. That being at Silverstone and Japan Suzuka, 2 legendary circuits in Formula 1 that we've seen on many a time over the years. And I've got to say, you've got to watch Moreno, Jack. I mean, I've got to say, it tends to be often that he plays second fiddle in Mercedes when Jarno Wattmeer is at the table, but you can never count him out because he is an extreme weapon out on track.
Yeah, he certainly is, and we've got to remember, he's had 2 wins taken off him on penalties, of course, after the race. Of course, he won at Monza on track. That, of course, that win went to Nicholas Matteo, and then we go back to the US Grand Prix, and that win was taken away from him as well by Alvaro Carreton. So both wins he's had have been taken away by a Williams, which is an interesting little stat. But he's got Carreton and Di Capua at Williams right now. But Danny Moreno, he's proven how quick he is, how good he is, and whether he plays second fiddle or not is irrelevant because he has performed exceptionally well, and that Mercedes lineup of Otmir and Moreno is really a force to be reckoned with.
It certainly is, I have to say, and it certainly bodes well for their season as well in F1 Esports for the 2020, well, it'll be now, obviously, the 2022 season, I would have thought. Well, it will get started this year, so there you go. So it will technically be 21-22. But yes, 2 very formidable drivers as Sam McBride, Smasher, certainly responds to his very first visit to the PC platform with a P4 and goes ahead of Simon Weigang as well. So credit to McBride, who, of course, joins Alfa Romeo this week. And I've got to say, what a way to get yourself going here in Australia. It's not an easy circuit to actually get a benefit in lap time on because there's so many treacherous spots as Carreton now fields his way into P5, but a great visit from Sam McBride and a very tenacious figure. We've seen him in Xbox before, Jack Canan, but here in PC for the first time, he looks like a force to be reckoned with as well. Great to see him here on PC.
He certainly is, yeah. He's a smasher, Sam McBride. He's only had his PC since Tuesday, so he's barely had an opportunity, really, to have a go. So he's only had the PC 2 days, and he hops immediately out of the PC platform and looks good to get himself into Q2. I'm just trying to see what's going on with Yarno, George, because I think he's had a full-on PC crash of some kind on his end, because usually he would also be streaming his POV, but that has completely crashed on his end. So gonna hope for Otmir to get back, because if not, George, this will be an absolute disaster. Barry's not come out yet either, so Barry's leaving this very late. Could end up with Otmir at the back of the grid, and if Barry doesn't come out, he'll be on the second to last row of the grid.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the reason why, because obviously Barry was the last man to enter the lobby. You don't suppose he sent over a little computer virus over to Holland by any chance, do you?
He's just, well, right on cue, he's just come out on the circuit, so that might prove our theory. And so, Barry Burmand is out on the circuit right now. No sign of Jarno Watmer. If he does not get out on track in the next minute, I haven't seen him rejoin the session, George. This could be it. He could be starting last on the grid.
Yeah, this could actually be a huge moment in this in these final couple of races. Certainly here at Australia, Otmir may not actually feature in Q2. Now, that would be the massive story of the session, to say the least. But at this moment in time, Barry Burman on an outlap, and we've got to stay on board with this man, of course, because this will obviously make a huge difference in the context of the championship. So keep your eyes on this, folks, as we now witness Barry Burman making his way around the circuit, of course. Now making his way through the quick left and right at turns 11 and 12. Of course, this is his outlap, so he'll just be warming up those tyres, getting it prepared for this flying lap that he's doing with just over a minute and a half remaining. Now, this is a huge chance for Barry Burmand right now. He needs to capitalise on the fact that the Dutchman is not going to show. No mistakes can be afforded by Barry Burmand here in this race today. He needs to get a result as he makes his way down through the latter sector here on his outlap now, down through turn 15 and 16. And he will now power out through the long stretch to commence his fast lap. So here comes Barry. Now past the grandstands, of course, 80,000 capacity here at Australia. He now comes into turn 1 and into turn 2, the speed trap. He goes through and now makes his way down the stretch, down towards turn 3, and instantly now up to 8th gear. Now coming down towards the 100-meter board, breaks down gear 3 now as he rounds that right-hander, lovely and smooth around turn 3 into turn 4 now. And very soon, turn 5, you'll have Albert Road now, which is this semi-stretch towards turn 6 and 7. Di Capua goes into P1 with a 118.366 for Williams. So a real strong showing there from Alessio Di Capua. Goes half a tenth quicker than that of Nicholas Longe. As Barry Burman now through the next chicane at turns 9 and 10. Rounding the next left-hander, he'll soon break into sector 3 now, just before turns 11 and 12. Here comes the McLaren, and Barry Burman looking to shake things up at the top end. He's 12 points behind Jarno Otmir in the context of the World Championship. Now this could be a chance for him to feel an upset. Otmir has returned, but it's too late for the Dutchman as they come around the next right-hander now. Turn 14 now towards turn 15. Barry Burman looking to upset the apple cart here and plant his car into Q2 as he comes around the final bend now, past the paddock on the right-hand side. Barry Burman, what's he going to set? Is it P1? Here in Q1 is P3, but it's good enough. A 118 is certainly going to be the place to be. Just over 1.5 tenths slower than Alessio Di Capua, and that's all he needed to do, Jack. Job well done for Barry Burman.
We cannot overstate how important this is. Barry will make it through. Otmir is out of Q1 with a disconnection, and he will start last on the grid, ladies and gentlemen. This has completely flipped it on its head in the space of a few minutes. It's completely not Jarno's fault what has happened there, but he's had some terrible luck go his way. Barry will make it through. This is just a huge opportunity. If he pulls off a win, he will lead the championship going into the last round, which is completely not what we expected going into this, but we're waiting for the last few laps to come in right now. The bottom 5 will get eliminated. Luke Smith is going to be out. He spun it, actually, in the fast right-hander. Simon Weigang into second behind Alessio Di Capua. Lewis Welch is just in at the moment. Ruben Pedreño is the man on the bubble in P15. We're waiting for a couple of others to set their laps now. We're waiting for a couple of others just to get across the line. I think everybody has actually invalidated their final runs here as we look to see if anybody else is going to make it into the top 15 across the line. Alex Grady does not make it in. Alberola will not make it in. Does Tom 97 get into Q2? No, he does not. He misses out by 0.2 of a second. So that brings an end to qualifying. Luke Smith will not make it. Tom Martinez out. Alex O'Grady is out. Jorge Alberola. But George, the big story, Jarno Watmir is out in Q1.
Yeah, folks, we cannot, like Jack said, we cannot understate the importance or, seriously, absolutely mind-blowing scenes here. The Flying Dutchman, Jarno Watmir, out of Q1. He will start from the back of the grid at the start of this Australian Grand Prix. Absolutely sensational. And what this could mean is, well, I don't know what it could mean. We could get into the race. I mean, we've seen Jarno do last to first challenges before, but I have to say this puts him in a very severe disadvantage. This is not an AI standard. This is an esports standard level. And naturally now, with Otmir out, Barry can lick his lips. He's going to be focused, fully focused on achieving the maximum here at Australia. And that's all he needs to do. That's all he can do. That's what he needs to do in order to stay in this championship fight. Naturally, it's all it's poetry in motion as far as we can tell, because obviously the drama has been teed up so nicely. Alessio Di Capua takes P1 in Q1. A great performance there from him with Simon Weigang. What a return into P2. Nicholas Longe up into P3 at the death. Barry Burman, of course, P4. Danny Moreno in P5. Yari Fitz into P6. Dylan Warren P7. You got Jake Parnell or Jake Benham in P8. Andreas Dormeyer P9. You got Smasher, Sam McBride P10. Alvaro Caraton P11, Souza P12, Prejnator P13, Lewis Welch 14th, Ruben Pedreño P15, and the rest, unfortunately, are out of qualifying. But incredible stuff there, folks. Unbelievable scenes. Jack, Jarno is not going to be a happy man. Naturally, this puts a huge dampener on what could have been his crowning moment in achieving PSGL PC Championship glory in its first ever season. And naturally, that's been put at risk here tonight.
He really has. He's going to have so much work to do now. He's going to be starting last on the grid. Lost the first challenge, I'm hearing, from Jarno Watmir. If he can get himself back in, hopefully that he can get himself back in, because it sounds like it's some kind of PC problem or internet issue that he is having at the moment with, I think, maybe attempting to stream and also do this. But it had to come on the day that he's trying to fight for the championship. It's always the way it works. So Jarno Watmir will start 20th on the grid now. It's all down to Barry to see what he's able to do. But also, Danny Moreno now, he's going to play such a crucial role in this one. Let's see, if he can get himself in front of Barry, then he could cause some problems, because we all know as well, we cannot discount Jarno Watmir. He's starting last. If he does start this race, of course, hopefully he does, we cannot discount him. If he gets in the points, he's still absolutely in this fight.
Absolutely, it's absolutely, you could scenes, folks, and I hear that he's still, like you say, Jack, he's having problems, severe problems. The PC is not working for him right now. It keeps crashing. He's trying to stream, it's crashing, and I have to say, what could this mean? We're going to be heading now into the race very shortly. Well, certainly after 2 sessions of qualifying. Is that going to be enough time for him to fix his little issue? Or are we going to find ourselves in the race without the Flying Dutchman? And this would effectively give advantage Burman if he can get P1 at the end of the race. I mean, obviously, in terms of what we want to see in terms of a championship fight, everyone wants to see it go to Brazil, don't they? But naturally, not like this, Jack. Not like this.
No, this is not the way that we wanted to see the championship fight go on. But I was just doing a quick look at the points here. If it were to finish this way, of course, Barry would go into, if he would win and Jarno not score any points or not start this race, Barry would go into the final round with a 4-point lead. With fastest lap, a 5-point lead. So it's not much, but it would still be advantage Barry, which is still big for the championship. And if Jarno does not start this race, Barry, he's got to win it.
He's got to win it. He needs to win it. He cannot afford to lose it, folks. It's literally all to play for at this moment in time. And we're receiving news as we're getting it, folks. We're going to try and give it to you as best we can. Obviously, it is lots going on here tonight. Obviously, we got new drivers. Not only that, of course, this amazing championship fight that just seems to get more dramatic as time goes on. But let's just talk about Australia for a minute, of course. This circuit is 5.303 kilometers. And of course, that's 3.296 miles. 16 turns around this track. The lap record, Jack, unbelievably still held by Michael Schumacher from 2004. Astounding, isn't it?
Those cars were mental, the 2004 cars.
Long time ago, eh?
Yeah, it doesn't even feel that long ago, but 2004, that was the year I started school, I think. Yeah, it was, 2004. So, it's linked with many historical events, including that. But Q2 is now underway in other news, so we're waiting to see the first timed laps come in right now. Of course, the top 10 make it through to Q3. This is all about the tyre strategy, of course. Whatever lap you set your fastest lap time on, that is the tyre that you will start the race on. Dylan Warren sets the initial pace on a 1:18.842. And we wait to see the first next set of times. Barry Borman 18.4 to the top of the standings. Nicholas Longday, unfortunately, an invalidated lap for him, but we expect of course some fast lap times for him. But Barry immediately, he's got a banker lap in, and now he doesn't really have to worry, but ideally he has to make it into Q3. We expect it from him, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, you just get this feeling about him, don't you, Jack, that playtime's over. You know, Barry Burman is not here to mess around. He knew what he was coming here to do, and just the amount of work he was putting in to try and prepare for this very race is extraordinary. As Sam McBride, once again, making his way up into the top order. He actually pips Andreas Dormeyer by approximately 2.5 tenths of a second, so that's brilliant work there from Sam McBride, albeit, though, a huge mountain to climb to get close to Barry Burman. I mean, 1/10 of a second is massive. When it comes to Formula One. Naturally, given the pace of these cars, absolutely scintillating. 1,000 brake horsepower behind these, these part hybrid machines, of course, and extraordinary indeed. As Dylan Warren, of course, is in P2, as we said, just under 3.5 tenths off the leader, but plenty out on track, looking to upset the apple cart. Yari Fitz out on track as well, but we've also got Felipe Souza, who unfortunately is out there in Alvaro Caraton's number, but make no mistake, he is driving the AlphaTauri.
He is indeed, and he's made it into Q2, as has Jake Benham in the AlphaTauri. So good effort from those guys. Both the Renos have made it through. Ruben Pedreño on his debut as well. He's made it into Q2 in the Red Bull, the only Red Bull to do so, to make it into Q2. Also Lewis Welch doing what he normally does and going about his business, and makes it into Q2. Both racing points as well. Much better day making it into Q2 with Dylan Moran and Andreas Dormeyer. Dylan looks a little bit more comfortable around this circuit, and maybe a little bit more comfortable than he did before in these conditions. So hopefully he gets a better run of it. Philip Preschnader as well. He's into Q2 as well. Of course, he's out of the championship fight, but I think he wants a result.
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, Philip Preschnader's got a lot to prove. He's had a real hard time of it of late, and of course we've discussed his form fairly recently. It has not gone to plan for him. I mean, it feels a long time, Jack, since that race at Spa-Francorchamps, where of course he took victory, and that was a very eventful race in itself, as we now watch Alvaro Caraton nail a first purple sector, which is absolutely brilliant there from that man in the Williams, of course, the Spaniard who has tasted P1 glory here in PSGL, and of course from other leagues as well. He's no stranger to it. And of course he set the world on fire prior as well. I remember once he managed to set certainly a purple lap in F1 Esports as well in the Austrian Grand Prix, as he now makes his way into Sector 3. Green in Sector 2, of course, now makes his way into Sector 3 now. Round the next right-hander, and certainly now Caraton looking to upset the apple cart once again. Can we see another twist at the top? Here comes Alvaro Caraton around the final corner now. He'll whip his way across the line. Can he nail a positive lap time? Come on, Caraton, he says. Across the line, P1 he does. A 1:18.499 with Burman now on an outlap, and goes quickest there. Purple Sector 3 as well, Jack. Stunning lap.
How about 0.001 between them? 1,000th of a second between Alvaro Caraton and Barry Borman. Caraton on a 4.98, Barry on a 4.99. So that's pretty close. We've had that before, though. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix pole time was 0.004 of a second between Jarno Watmere and Barry Burman. But Caraton, he's done the job. He's at the top of the standings for now. But a man who's on a push lap right now, by the looks of it, checking the sector time, is Danny Moreno.
He is indeed. He's making his way around the next right-hander, now through the next left. He's here in Sector 1, now braking into Sector 2 shortly. Coming around the next right-hander through Albert Road now. And you'll have another chicane to take. Of course, you've got to be careful at this one. Does not go purple Sector 1 though, Jack, but of course he would be green. He's within a 10th, though, so he's definitely got the pace. As Pedreno now in P3. The other Red Bull up into the top 3 now, or in the top 5 at least. McBride as well still remains in the top 5. Currently on another outlap as well, looking to go quicker if he can. You firmly expect him to do so as Moreno comes through the next chicane now, the fast chicane. And on the exit now, so easy to invalidate there, but he keeps it under control. Superb stuff here by the Spaniard as he now makes his way through Sector 3 now proper. Can he park that Mercedes higher up the grid order? It's all on Moreno. Because, of course, Otmir, he's going to be starting from the back. That's if he starts at all, folks. We're still not sure as to the condition of his PC right now as Moreno round the final corner here in the black car. The Mercedes, an invalid lap there. He lost the rear end on the car. He will have to go again. Not ideal at all. And Moreno, no lap time set. Not even a banker, Jack.
That's not good for Danny Moreno. Just a slight bit wide in the last corner, but it still would only have been good enough for P5 behind Dylan Warren. It was a 118.958, so more time to be found for Danny Moreno. So not ideal to have your banker lap invalidated. And of course, he's going to have to start the race at the tyre that he sets his fastest lap on. So ideally, he's to go in and put on another set of tyres, but he wouldn't have really wanted to have done that. So that's not gone well for him. But now we have two other drivers who are also on laps as well. I'm looking at Nicholas Longue, who's having an attempt on the mediums at the moment. So interesting strategy from Renault. They're both on the medium tyres. Here's Longue. He goes into 9th, so he's in the top 10, but we're still waiting for Moreno, Benham, Weigang, who's on a push lap now as well. Simon Weigang on his return. How's he getting on in the sectors? As we look here, 26.0 in the first sector. It is a green, about just under a 10th off the best time set by Alvaro Caraton. So good effort from Simon Weigang. He should be right up there as Barry does an 18.221. And now we know his personal best is in the 17, so he's just chipping away, getting himself confident.
Absolutely. What a story here in qualifying for Barry Burman. It's all going his way right now, and he did speak last week in the post-driver interview about how, he certainly felt that he hadn't had the fortune or had the luck behind him recently. Of course, he got held up at Abu Dhabi last week after making a couple of changes, but here comes Simon Weigang now, coming through the final sector, around the final corner now. Weigang on his return, looking to do what he did certainly in Q1. Can he do it in Q2? Across the line for Simon Weigang, P2 it certainly is, and just under 1.5 tenths of a second. Absolutely brilliant. He's a force to be reckoned with. He looks like, well, it's like he never left, Jack. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, we always knew Simon was going to be up there for dancing, so nice to see him in the new Alfa Romeo colours as well. Officially a part of that team now as well, and a fantastic addition to their F1 Esports lineup, of course. But we're waiting for some more now. Danny Moreno back in pit lane, looking to put on a new set of tyres. No sign of De Capua out yet. He's going for one single run. But Nicholas Longue is throwing a spanner in the works by going on the mediums. And currently, he's just about inside that top 10, not by much. Well, he's actually just in 10th, and everyone else behind has not set lap times or have invalidated. So that probably will not work out for Nicholas Longue, but it was worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. He's in P10, though, at least for now. You never know. We'll have to wait and see what happens towards the end. Of course, Moreno will want to make sure that his car is at least in the top end. That will be the Mercedes strategy, that's for sure. They'll be focusing their efforts on getting Danny Moreno, of course, into Q3. And that's going to be at their utmost priority, of course. Very rare do we ever see a Mercedes out of Q3. I think there was one occasion, though, Jack, wasn't it? Was it USA where we didn't see the Mercedes get into the third section of qualifying, I believe?
That would be correct, yes, that they started on the in 11th and 12th strategically to get the alternate strategy. I believe that was the US Grand Prix, where that happened. So, it was interesting to watch as well. It may have been an earlier race, but it seems to we've had them not appear in Q3 at least once this season. But we've never had one go out in Q1, so that's a new one.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Dylan Warren now making his way around the next right-hander. He'll be looking to commence his fast lap. And Dylan Warren, of course, he himself on a voyage of certainly of discovery. He has not had certainly the fortune in his racing recently. Not like he had at the start of the season, where of course he pulled off a masterclass at Austria and was fighting for very high points respectability. As now Dylan Warren makes his way down towards turn 1, and of course the British man looking to turn things around. Only a youngster himself, has a lot of promise behind him, and does not run away from a fight. As Speed Barry Barry Burman retires from the session. He's happy with his lap time, and who wouldn't be? An 18.2. And currently just under 1.5 tenths quicker than Simon Weigang in P2 as well. Dylan Warren now, though, invalidated here on this fast lap. Not good with 2 minutes to go. And that means he's going to have to try and make sure. That's if he wants to stay out. But we all know what can happen, folks. Certainly everything can change in qualifying. Certainly in the final moment. Warren has got to stay out, Jack.
He's going to have to go again. Such a shame. He went purple in Sector 1 by about 1.5 tenths. So Dylan's got the pace, but he's just invalidated that lap at the wrong time. We've also had Pedreño's invalidate his lap in Turn 1. And, of course, Barry has retired. So we're waiting for some more. Caraton's had to back out of his lap to let some traffic through. So it's not going particularly to plan. But the people who have the real pressure on them right now is 11th down to 15th. They will be eliminated. Jari Fitz, Alessio Di Capua, Danny Moreno, all the pressure on him right now. He cannot invalidate the lap. Again, Jake Benham and Philip Preschnitter, who now begins his timed lap, and Jake Benham lining up to do it as well. Danny Moreno a little bit further around. Di Capua ready to go now down the front straight. So the pressure's on these guys. It's very easy to invalidate around here.
It certainly is, and we're going to ride on board with Philip Preschnitter as he makes his way around the next right-hander. Certainly a big day for Ferrari. And they've only got one man left, and it is this man, Philip Preschnitter, making his way around the next right now, down through Albert Park Road here again. And the green flags are waving here, because Ferrari could really do with a positive result. And, of course, Philip Preschnitter looking as well to get his confidence back. Of course, this season it has not gone to plan for him at all, ever since that win at Spa. And, of course, if you remember, Jarno Opmeer and Danny Moreno were both taking part in the Formula E Accelerator event. And, of course, that was a huge opportunity, we said, for Ferrari to pick up some major points. Oh, my word, a little bit messy. And he's invalidated. Jack Preschnitter invalidates through the S section. And that could once again be crucial at the end of this stage of qualifying.
Yeah, he's going to have to go again, but will he make it to the line? I don't think he's going to make it, George. He's going to be out in Q2, and he's going to start 15th. He's got 5 seconds. He's not going to make it. Philip Preschnitter is out in Q2. Alessio Di Capua, purple in sector number 1. He's absolutely flying. Is Alessio Di Capua. Here he comes right now. Get himself out of the bottom 5. Here he comes around the last corner. Caraton peels into pit lane. He's happy. Here comes Di Capua across the start-finish line. It will be P1, 18.1. He is safe. Here comes Jari Fitz now in the background. He does not make it. He's invalidated his lap. Now we wait. Nicholas Longa is now the man in trouble. P11. But it may not be a bad place to start, but he should now see where he's going to end up now. He gets through the last corner right now. Jari Fitz has come across the line. Moreno, he's on a lap as well. He cannot afford to mess up here. Here comes Longa. He goes to the top on a 118.133. How about Danny Moreno? Does he get himself out of Q2? It's a really important lap from Danny Moreno. Does he do the job? Here he comes. He does, but only just.
Yeah, it was very close, Jack, but Nicholas Longa, where did that come from? Within 0.5 tenth of a second of Alessio Di Capua. Barry Burman, of course, retires into P3 here in Q2, but Dylan Warren, what a story. Got himself up into P4 as well. But remember, if it wasn't for Longa hitting P1, he would have been in P3. Absolutely brilliant indeed. And Moreno managing to hold it together, holds on to P10 as well. But certainly amazing scenes here today. Felipe Sousa still out on track. We're yet to see from him. I'm not sure whether he's completed or whether he's on a cooldown lap. No, he's not out on track, folks. That is all she wrote for now. The eliminations are in place. But what a story here, of course. Philip Preschnitter out here in Q2. Ferrari don't feature. And there's only one Mercedes in Q3. That, of course, being Danny Moreno. That's your story as we now wrap up Q2. Nicholas Longa in P1. Alessio Di Capua P2. Barry Burman P3. Dylan Warren, excellent effort, P4. Simon Weigang into P5, as well as Alvaro Caraton in P6. Jake Benham in P7. You got Sam McBride in P8 as well, with Ruben Pedreño in P9, as well as Danny Moreno, who finished in P10. Lewis Welch, Andreas Dormeyer, Felipe Sousa, Jari Fitz, and Philip Preschnitter all eliminated from the session. Well, I have to say, another electrifying qualifying session. But once again, Jack, those track limits, those pesky track limits, again, costing drivers their prospective lap times. I think that's what cost Preschnitter in the end.
Yeah, and Danny Moreno, he made a big mistake on his lap as well. Got a lot of oversteer. in the chicane, had to hold it together, and he made it into Q3 by just the skin of his teeth. He made it in by just under a tenth of a second, was almost knocked out by Lewis Welch, but Lewis unfortunately invalidated in the last corner, so he got away with it there, Danny Moreno. It's not been good for Mercedes today. Has not been a good day at the office, but Danny Moreno has pulled it together. Ruben Pedreño as well, a mention to him in Red Bull. He may be running the wrong number, but he's got himself into Q3 in the Red Bull. Sam McBride as well, 2 days on PC. He's got himself into Q3 alongside Simon Weigang, his teammate, and Jake Benham also getting into Q3. But a big round of applause to Dylan Warren. Not great to see him back in Q3.
Absolutely. And folks, we have actually done a little bit of handiwork our side as well, you know, bringing the numbers back into play and doing a little bit of handiwork in behind the scenes just so the graphics 100% make sense for you. The only driver with the wrong number showing now on screen will be Felipe Sousa. He has got Alvaro Caraton's number in the AlphaTauri. So obviously if you do see a Caraton in the AlphaTauri, then you'll know that's Felipe Sousa, of course. But now we're going to head over into Q3 now, folks. And I have to say, it's been a thrilling encounter watching all these drivers make their way around the circuit. Of course, we want to hear who you think is going to snatch pole here at the Australian Grand Prix, so please smash the live chat and tell us who you think it is. Jack, where's your prediction lying?
I really don't know, and I don't want to say anything because we know what happens when I do that. So Q3, it's going to be very tight for pole, though, because Longay's looking really good, and he's pulled it out of the bag before. Alvaro Caraton, always good. A hot tip for pole as well, as is Barry. We just don't really know at this point. I'm just looking as well at the moment. Jarno is back in the session, so he will be taking to the track in the race. Hopefully, cross fingers for him, but he will be starting 20th and last on the grid. So Barry, if he wants to take this championship to the final round, it needs to win and lead from pole position.
Well, it's going to be an absolutely monumentous story. And just going to have a look at some of the comments here as well. We got Cartalundi, Dylan Warren, P to the 1. And we got Logan Skelton, Jackson Barry. That's bad news for him. It certainly is. Jack, we all know that Jack has certainly the poison chalice when it comes to predicting winners. Don't we, Jack?
Yeah, well, now you can't see anything anymore, George, because you predicted Jarno. Looks what happened to him. So it's no longer me, guys.
Yeah, you can take your bad luck back with you, Jack. I don't want it anymore. But let's have a look. 1 second. Has tipped Barry or Alessio for P1. And Mansuki has gone for a Longe pole, looking really good. He certainly is a Mansuki. I mean, what a return for Nicholas Longe as well here in Australia. Looking very good indeed. We are seeing 2 Decapuas, apparently? Oh, I don't think so. There's only 1 Decapua on our screen right now. Chile has gone for a Dylan Warren pole. I mean, what a story that would be as well for the man in the Racing Point to hit the top end, of course. He has been absolutely brilliant in qualifying for us. Since Mike has gone for Nicholas Longe for pole as well. And we've got Carl Indy, car cap. Yeah, that's the difference. Noel Minibu. Jarno's still going to win the championship, says Noel Minibu. And he's placing his faith in the Flying Dutchman. Who would blame him? Cartalundi also going for a Dylan Warren pole. We all want to see it. And Dylan Warren already hits the front with a 118.4. Not a bad lap time, Jack, considering we're only in the first half of this qualifying session.
Yeah, fastest time in Q2 was an 18.1, so that's not a bad effort from Dylan Warren as a banker lap, so good job from Dylan. And here comes now Sam McBride across the start-finish line, and he unfortunately invalidates his first effort, but it's the banker lap, so it shouldn't affect him too much. Now, everybody's out on the track apart from Simon Weigang. He's staying in right now. Caraton, Decapua, Moreno, Benham, Longe, and Burman are all out on the circuit at the moment. And I think Barry's going to have to be super, super focused right now. He's got to take pole position. If he wins the race today and gets fast lap, he'll have 5 points in the hand going into the final round. But of course, it'll only be 4 points if he takes just the win. But again, Jarno, I mean, how exciting is this? We have to watch Jarno Watmere start from the back of the grid to try and hold on to the championship lead.
Are we going to see poetry in motion, Jack, now he's starting from the back? Because I cannot wait to see it. We've seen him do last to first on his videos, of course. And I tell you what, folks, if you haven't seen them, I highly recommend you check them out. He's an absolute magician, of course, in the F1 game. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He's the F1 Esports World Champion, but he's coming here today, and he's going to be starting from the back of the grid. So we'll have to wait and see what he can pull off. Obviously, it's going to have to be an absolute pure race effort from him, as well as a strategy effort, as well as we're now watching Longue make his way into turn 1 and 2. And of course, this man has been doubly impressive in qualifying and making his way down towards the next right-hander, of course. Longue, we've seen many a great result from this man. Of course, recently had surgery as well, Jack, but he recovered exceptionally well and once again seems to have found his pace.
Yeah, he certainly has, and nice that he's recovered well from that surgery. A man who's actually going to need probably some arm surgery just there is Jake Benham, because he was full lock to the left going through the fast right in sector number 2. He's managed to save it, thankfully, but I think he's going to need some shoulder surgery trying to keep from catching that slide. Here comes Moreno now. How's he looking in the sectors? He's unfortunately invalidated it in sector 2, so that's not gone well for him. He's going to cross the line, and again, the invalidations are claiming victims today. We're waiting for the last few to come across the line. I hear Barry Burman's going to be the man to cross the line in just a second, and he will probably set the benchmark time. Have a look at the sectors right now. 25.8 in the first, 21.2 in the middle. It's purple for Barry Burman. Here he goes. It's an 18.161 as his banker lap. And again, an excellent effort. Nicholas Longue, big slide to the last corner. Here he comes with his effort. He goes to the start-finish line. It'll be an 18.3. I'm sure there's more time in it for Nicholas Longue, but Barry, again, he's at the top, and Moreno, again, invalidates his lap.
He does indeed. Alvaro Caraton is going to be the next to cross as he now makes his way around the final corner. And certainly the Williams man will be looking to once again taste the top end once again. Burman still on top. Longue P2. Caraton into P3 with a 118.382. Just over 0.2 of a second slower than that of Barry Burman. Just look at them. Absolutely decorating the top end. Brilliant to see the least. Di Capua, of course, we yet to see. Of course, he's been at the top end before. He's on a slow lap. Moreno is making his way through the final sector as well, still yet to post a faster lap, and he is actually going to bail into the pit lane. Weigang is out on another lap as well. Let's see what Simon Weigang can nail down. He's been also very good in quali, seems to have made a dynamic recovery this season. Well, certainly coming back here, and he's looking very quick. Comes around the final corner now, past the paddock. Where can he park the car? Will it be at the top end? It is indeed. Brilliant from Simon Weigang with just over 4 minutes left at 118.160. Amazing stuff indeed. The Alfa Romeo is at the top.
0.001 again today. 1,000th. It was all it was between Simon Weigang and Barry Burman, and it was a purple last sector that did it for him. He pulled a 10th on Burman in that last sector alone. Green, purple for Simon Weigang, but very, very good. And it looked like he's got more time in that, George, because he got out of shape through the chicane. And I reckon he's got another little bit of ounce of time. And that could be a great return if he can nail a pole position on his return. And Simon Weigang looks like a driver reborn, honestly.
He does. He looks like an absolute machine right now. Of course, Simon Weigang, he's a bit of a fitness freak. Of course, he likes his gym. And again, it focuses his mind, of course. I mean, you want to see him on Twitter as well. Very active on Twitter, and very much enjoys posting some interesting stuff indeed. I've got to say, Jack, we've had the fortune to obviously speak to Simon on an occasion, and he is a very humorous person, I have to say, in his own way. Of course, I think he gets misunderstood on a lot of occasions, but he's absolutely entertaining to speak to. And we've had the benefit to obviously talk through numerous stories of his movements through esports in the past. Of course, you can see an interview between ourselves and Simon, and of course Cedric Tomei on YouTube, on the Comrade Gaming YouTube channel, the CRG debrief, and you get to get insight into life as an esports driver. But as we now see the cars currently in the box for the first half of Q3, it's been an absolutely thrilling watch. Dylan Warren already back out on an outlap, and you got Pedrino there as well as Sam McBride out onto the track with Jake Benham as well. But Jack, things are about to get about to hot up here, and certainly if we're seeing lap times like this, could we see a 1:17? Do you think?
Well, we've seen Barry. He was, of course, doing his practice beforehand. He's done a 17.7 as his personal best. He's got it in him to do a 17, as I'm sure all of these guys are. But it's very different to try to do it in a qualifying session, because you know you've only got one chance to do it on TT. You can just restart and keep trying, but you've only got one attempt when you're doing this. So an 18.1 is still a very good effort. But if any man's going to pull a ridiculous lap time out of the bag, it's Barry Burman.
Yeah, and he's got some good company around him as well. Nicolas Longuet, no stranger to posting fast times. And I have to say, what about that man at the top as well? Simon Weigang, who's got to jump out as quickly as he can. At this rate, he'll probably be the last man to cross, as now Jake Benham comes across the line to commence his fast lap now. And indeed, it's going to be interesting to see what this man can set. As certainly Sam McBride is out as well, as we now watch Benham head through Sector 1 and through turns 1 and 2 as well. The AlphaTauri, once again, the sole member of the AlphaTauri team in Q3. And, of course, currently donned by that of Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda in real Formula 1. As now Jake Benham comes through the next right-hander, heading down Albert Road now. And very shortly through the next chicane, you see the cars just getting out of the way. That's Danny Moreno, who is currently on an outlap himself, as we now watch Jake Benham cruising and cascading through Sector 2. Now, very shortly, another chicane will beckon. A very tough one at this. You've got to be very careful that you don't spin on the curves. Too easy to do, especially when you're trying to put the throttle back down again, heading around this semi-stretch, around this little left-hander. It certainly is very, very tricky indeed. Much like this one as well. You can get this one wrong. I can tell you, right too much of the curb, and you can easily spin as he tries to get a toe, I think, there off the Williams. He might have just snuck one there as well. Of course, Williams blessed with 2 drivers in at this point in qualifying. Of course, Q3 has certainly been a blessing for Williams this season, and they're certainly chasing the top end of the constructors as well, albeit Mercedes have taken the crown, as now we see Jake Benham coming around the final corner, and the AlphaTauri looking to once again improve. Can he do just that? Jake Benham across the line, and that's a P3, a 118.3. Respectable, Jack, and he's up there, certainly for fighting.
Yeah, he did a really good middle sector. He's purple in the middle sector. I was thinking, well, could this be a cheeky pole for Jake Benham? But didn't quite hook it together in the first and third sectors. But a really good middle sector from him, about a tenth, or just under a tenth, quicker than that of Barry Burman, who now, of course, is out on his lap. And how important of a lap this is for Barry Burman. Let's have a look at the sectors. He hasn't improved in either of his sectors, though. He's not quite on it, is Barry Burman. Just look at 25.85, which is just off his best. 21.24 in the middle. He's about a half a tenth down. He needs to pull a magic last sector here, Barry Burman, to try and steal pole here in Australia. Will it be enough to eclipse Simon Weigang? Here he comes through the last corner, the most important qualifying lap of his career so far. Here comes Barry Burman. Does he do enough? He does, by just under a tenth of a second. It's a 1:18.0. Weigang backs out of his lap. Can anyone else challenge? Nicolas Longuet possibly could in P4. Good sectors from him so far. We're also looking for Alessio Di Capua, who looks really good in his sector, and it's P2 for Nicolas Longuet. Alessio Di Capua is the man to watch, though. Purple in the first sector, green in the middle. Is it Di Capua on pole here in Australia? It's not. It's going to be, as far as we can see, Barry Burman. We wait for Alvaro Carreton, who's on his lap right now. Good sectors from him as well, and he likes to steal pole at the very last moment. Here comes Alvaro Carreton. He's taken pole on 4 previous occasions. Here he comes through the last corner. DRS open for the Spaniard. Can he steal pole in Australia? The answer is no. P4 for him, and that brings an end to qualifying. Barry Burman is on pole, with Danny Moreno starting 10th and Jarno Watmir last.
Absolutely fantastic. It's on. The championship fight is on, folks. Barry Burman is in P1. He has the chance. The opportunity is in his grasp. The McLaren driver looking to try and stay in the fight for the driver's title. And I have to say, based on what we've seen there, P1 for the wicked fast Iranian, with Alessio Di Capua for Williams in P2. Great day for Williams with Alvaro Carreton in P4. Nicolas Longuet in P3 for Renault. Simon Weigang, what a return. Top 5 billing for the start of the Australian Grand Prix in PSGL. Jake Benham into P6. What a visit. Dylan Warren up into P7. What a return there for the Racing Point man. Sam McBride, his first experience of PC Racing P8. Ruben Pedreño in P9. Q3 in his first visit in PSGL. Danny Moreno capping off a very unappealing day for Mercedes in P10, Jack. It just has not worked out for them, has it?
No, I mean, they've just been knocked off kilter by whatever's going on over with Jarno's internet. Danny, of course, maybe just invalidated both his runs, is trying to push here, but he starts P10 and he's pulled off amazing drives in the past to get it done. But this is set up to be an absolute classic. We say this every week, but this time we actually genuinely mean it. We've got Barry on pole. Danny in P10, and Jarno at the back of the grid. Barry is, of course, trying to get the lead of the championship. He's got a 12-point deficit to make up. Jarno's on 117 points. Barry's on 105. If he wins this one and Jarno does not score any points, he will go into the next round with just a 4-point advantage. But I think Jarno Opmeer, he should get himself back into the points, but it's going to be a really hard race from his perspective.
Yes, I got to say, Jack, my as alluded to by Chili in the live chat, my pundit prediction has not aged very well at all. In fact, Mercedes are on their rocker, and I have to say, even Big C hasn't decorated Danny Moreno in all sorts of glory. I think myself and Connor have eaten a bit of negative breakfast this morning and handed it over to Mercedes. We do apologise, obviously, to the team at Brackley for that, but I have to say, any minute now, folks, will be heading out onto the race, and I just cannot comprehend what we have seen, folks. Unbelievable. Of course, PSGL, you thought it was dead and buried earlier on. Everyone thought Jarno Opmeer had the title on his lap, but here today, we are here for this amazing race here in Australia where anything could happen. Of course, I have to say, folks, you have to brace yourself because are we seriously talking a title fight at the last race of the season, Jack?
I mean, at the moment, it certainly looks that way, and great to see Jarno is on the grid. He's got going, and even more rubbing the hands now. He's on the hard tyre. He's on a completely alternate strategy. The bottom 4 drivers are on the hard compound tyre. Everyone else in front is on the mediums from P11 down to 16, and the top 10 on the soft tyres. 3 different strategies, George. I'm in heaven.
Oh, Jack, it's what dreams are made of, my friend. I mean, myself and you, we've worked together now for a long time. We've worked for different league organisations as well as, well, certainly a lot of these professionals that you see on screen, folks, and it does not get any better than this. Opmeer is on the hards. This is what dreams are made of. 3 different compounds on the starting grid. It's going to tee up a fascinating race. Doesn't look like there's going to be much chance of rain either, folks. Brace yourself. You're going to be in for a sensational ride indeed. Burman on top, weaving around the track, looking to warm those tyres up. In behind this, De Capua, Longe, Caraton, Vigang, Benham, Warren, McBride, Pedreño, Moreno, Welsh, Dormeyer, Souza, Fitz, Prejnader, Smith, Martinez, O'Grady, Alberola, Opmeer. That is your lineup heading into this race, folks. Unrelenting scenes here at Melbourne. Certainly built around this large man-made lake. Certainly, we're going to be... It's definitely going to be sensational, folks. What a setting. What a scene here as we head down under. Jack, final thoughts from yourself.
Oh, this is going to be absolutely mental. A good job as well from Maku. Not a bad prediction for Alessio De Capua. He starts P2. And Nicholas Longe is in the mix as well. Caraton, Vigang. That's an esports front, a top 5 right there that we got right in this one with Opmeer at the back of the grid. This is going to be absolutely mental. I think race of the season about to come up. Yeah, biggest pedal to the metal you have ever heard here, folks. It's going to be absolutely magic. And I want you to all brace yourself. The cars are now lining up on the grid. And certainly we're going to wait for Jarno. There he is. Just fixing himself up on the rear of the grid. The McLaren just sent ahead of him. He's already keen to get ahead of cars already. And there's Barry Burman, of course, waiting in the midst for the lights to go red. Very soon we'll be striking down and striking go upon all these cars. Remember to leave a like. Also subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel. Brace it, folks. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. And they get away well. Barry Burman equaling Cantor here with Alessio De Capua. Turn 1 they go. But it's Barry Burman on top spot. Nicholas Longe moves up now and Alessio De Capua. They move down towards the next right-hander here in turn 3. Sensational though. It's Barry on top. De Capua in P2. Longe P3. No change in the top 5. Moreno drops but moves up into P7. He's a man on a mission, goes ahead of Simon Vigang and Pedreño, but what a sensational start. What an amazing move there. Barry Burman up into top spot, but Moreno's on a flyer, Jack. Yeah, so is Otmir. He's siding his way up through the field at the moment. Right now he's up 3 places from where he started, trying to make it 4 on Tom Martinez. But I mean, that was excellent job for Barry Burman. He didn't get a good start. De Capua beat him to turn 1, but he was having none of it. Threw it around the outside. De Capua gave him the room, and he knew that was an absolutely crucial overtake that he had to make to keep his lead. De Capua is there, Longa is there. They've all pretty much maintained position in this opening phase of the race. Biggest movers at the moment: 3 positions for Moreno, 3 positions for Otmir, and 2 positions up for Andreas Dormeyer. Weigang losing 3, but Barry's got the clean air. Now he's got to get his head down and get away.
Yes, lap 1 now in the books, folks. A Ferrari already bailing in the pit lane. Philip Presneder already in the pits. We got a few others in the box as well. I also think that Sam McBride's had to pull into the garage as well. So absolute scenes here in lap 1, and it looks like Lewis Welch has come to join them. But just look at this, folks. Barry Burman on top spot, but just look at this. He's joined with Alessio Di Capua in P2. Nicholas Longue hasn't left the rear of the Williams, as well as Alvaro Caraton. Longue in amidst a Williams sandwich here. Jake Benham in the midst of a party as well as they round their way here in lap 2. DRS will open up on the next lap, folks. Sensational stuff indeed, but look at Otmir. P14 already, Jack.
Yeah, he's absolutely on a mission. He's had those 3 guys come into pit lane with the front wing damage, but of course now he's on the hard tyre. The guys in front of him are on the medium tyre, but he's now leading that train of the guys on the hard compound tyre, and he's getting away from them as well. This is ideal for him, but of course he's going to be going a long way into this race. He needs to look after those tyres, and of course they're not going to be quite up to temperature and not in their operating window for a good few laps yet, so he's got to keep his head, look after the tyres, and he's not an F1 Esports champion for nothing. He knows what he's got to do. He's got to get his head down. Even if he finishes behind Barry Burman, if he holds on to the championship lead, that's all he needs to do.
It certainly is. As many points as possible for Jarno Otmir. Fastest lap set by Barry Burman. No surprise, he's leading the way. Clean air for the McLaren driver. In behind there, you could see Alessio Di Capua trying to drag himself back to the rear of the McLaren. But look at this as well. Longue coming into the fray too. Just look at the top 10. Absolutely littered with quality, star quality. And Jarno wasn't the only one to get a good getaway for Mercedes. Moreno himself gaining from P10 all the way up to P7. Those 3 spots, or 2 spots should I say, that he managed to certainly garner have certainly served him well. P7, he's now in the offing. 3 spots in fact. George, get it right as he makes his way through the grid order now, and certainly bodes well for Mercedes if they can keep up this kind of pressure, as we now watch Burman now lead them round here in lap 3 of 29. No change in the top end. Of course, you've seen these 3 before at the top. Of course, Longue, Di Capua and Burman, very successful drivers in their own right, league race winners in their own right as well. And that's the beauty of PSGL. We bring them all together for you folks, and you get a nice evening's entertainment for, well, certainly a feast for your eyes, to say the least. And Otmir now still on a charge, trying to gather himself up on Red Bull's Smith, who's currently now in behind, trying to, well, keep the Mercedes at bay. But look who's ahead of him, Jari Fitz as well. Nothing separates much of them in the bottom 10. Very extraordinary indeed. In fact, the widest gap, Jack, is between Alberola and Sam McBride, of course, because they pitted early.
Yeah, well, and they are, of course, a pit stop down, as you mentioned. Otmir is just trying to stay in DRS of the guys in front, because if he loses that, then he's going to be in trouble. Luke Smith just not able to stay with the guys in front. He's losing time on those medium tyres. Otmir's staying with him and using him to look after his ERS and look after his tyres and everything. So I cannot imagine the pure focus that Otmir is in right now. He's up from 20th up to 14th place, up 6 places already within the 4 laps, but he's got a long race in front of him. Barry is in full control at this moment in time. He's got 7/10 to Alessio Di Capua. Those guys have got a little bit of a gap back to Longue. Caraton still in there. Jake Benham hanging on really nicely in P5, as is Dylan Warren in 6th place. He's got Danny Moreno behind him. Weigang in P8, but is actually starting to drop away from Moreno in front, about 9/10 of a second behind. There's our first penalty for Pedreño, who's just behind Weigang at the moment. He's in DRS of the guy in front, but he's now the first guy to pick up a penalty. But it's early doors in this race, still a lot of time left to go, but it's all going to come down to those tyre strategies later on. Otmir will be on those soft tyres later on in the race, and he's going to be rapid.
Yeah, Pedreño is also looking rapid. Despite his penalty, he's trying to garner here on Simon Weigang. And there you can see the tyre splits, folks. Soft tyres through the top 9. Dormeyer then on the mediums, listed with Souza, Fitz and Smith. There on mediums, Otmir leading the hard tyre contingent as well, with Tom Martinez, O'Grady, Alberola, McBride, Presnader and Welch in behind. Remember though, McBride, Presnader and Welch have all pitted, as we can now watch them round lap 5 of 29. In this Australian Grand Prix. Extraordinary scenes already from the get-go, and I have to say it's been a pleasure to watch, to say the least, as they now wind their way through Sector 1, and still Burman leads. De Capua trying to chase him, or at least stay within DRS proximity. Longuet as well up there as well, ever dangerous the Frenchman, and you certainly don't want to trifle with him. In behind Alvaro Caraton in P4 as well, just watching, surveying what's happening through the course of this Grand Prix. Sensational stuff indeed, as we now have a look, of course, at the top end, and there of course is Caraton on the outset of the chicane at turns 11 and 12, and heading their way through Sector 3 now, and with DRS enabled, you might wonder whether De Capua might want to get an advantage, Jack, before the pit stops are applied.
Yeah, he might want to do that, or he might just want to stick behind Barry and just look after the ERS, etc. Because Barry, of course, is going to have to use a bit more ERS to stay in front of De Capua, but he's in full control. He's led before. De Capua knows what he's doing as well, and he won't try anything untowards. It's a tricky track to overtake here in Australia, and they'll just want to not involve themselves in any unnecessary battling. But as we carry on further, Otmir's still sticking behind that Red Bull of Luke Smith, and I think he started to think about an overtake here. Here he comes, and Luke Smith just moves straight over for him, and that is P13 for Jarno Otmir, and he's up another place. But now he doesn't have that DRS on the car in front on Jari Fitz, so it may be a bit more tricky for him to make more progress, but he's going to use that ERS to try and get himself up into DRS where he can continue to save. But he's going to be thinking about that tyre life as well, because he's going to be bringing those tyres a long way into this race and switching on to those very fast soft tyres at the end. So all is not lost. He's on the verge of the points here, Jarno Otmir, but again, it'll be a big loss to Barry Burman if it stays the way it is.
Yeah, he's playing a very percentage game here, Jack. He's got his mind at work at the same time, his foot to the floor, as Otmir in P13 trying to gain on Jari Fitz. As you quite rightly said, of course, medium tyre and hard tyres here on the track. Jari Fitz picking up a time penalty though, which won't help his race as they come through Sector 3 here in lap 6. And Otmir now will eye him up. VSC, Jack!
Virtual safety car.
VSC! Now, what was the reasoning for that? Have we lost somebody?
We haven't lost him, but we have had Luke Smith have a big off in the chicane and broke all of his front wing off, and that has brought out the virtual safety car, and Barry and everyone has immediately peeled into pit lane. It's worked out beautifully for them, and that'll be Barry onto the hards. He's getting held in pit lane though. That won't help him. Where is he going to come out relative to the others here? It's a double stack at Williams as well. That's not gone well for Williams, and oh, that was very close on the merge, but Barry just got out in front of De Capua, and the virtual safety car ends as they come out of the pit lane. Otmir's now out in P4. Dormeyer leads the Grand Prix, but now Barry and De Capua and everybody else has now pitted, and they will maybe try and get those hard tyres to the end of the race. So where does this completely shakes it up once again at PSGL.
It does, and Otmir stayed out and has immediately garnered his place into P4. Now this could work in one of two ways, Jack. Now you've got to look at it like this. Otmir has been out on the track now for 7 laps on his hard tyres. Effectively, he'll have the grip, and naturally now Barry has really got to try and nail his way through this list of cars who are still yet to box. Now, this makes it very interesting. Technically, this can bring Jarno straight back into the race. Bear in mind, those hard tyres are going to be very sluggish towards the end. If Otmir has a nice fast set of soft tyres on towards the end of this Grand Prix, Jack, this could effectively be a photo finish.
Yeah, it definitely could, because those soft tyres will have such a massive advantage over the hards at the end of the race if he switches on to those, which I'm sure he's going to do. So this could be very close. It's very reminiscent, isn't it, of Verstappen Hamilton at Barcelona. That's what it's going to end up being like, but it's always not lost for Otmir. That won't have helped this case, the virtual safety car. It just meant that these guys switched onto their tyres a little bit earlier, but it also means they're going to have to go longer on those hard tyres as well, and those soft tyres will work a lot better at the end of the race as well. So Jarno just conserving at the moment. He's also dragging Tom Martinez with him as well. Tom's sticking with the F1 Esports World Champion at the moment. Good job from Tom Martinez to stick in there and carry on the fight for Ferrari, but we've had now 2 firsts with PSGL in the past 2 weeks. We've had 2 full safety cars, and now the first appearance of the virtual safety car.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing to think that that's the first appearance of the VSC, but amazing. Lewis Welch picking up a 3-second time penalty as well. He's not having the race of his life today at all. He's at the back of the grid, Jack. Even behind Smith, of course, who lost his front wing. So not a great day of tour for Louis Welch, who many thought would have a better day today. He had a great day, or certainly a great race last week, where he was contending for the podium last week. But unfortunately, it's gone very south here at Australia, as we're now watching Barry Burman make his way through the fast sector and into Sector 3 now. Andreas Dormeyer with a penalty, and Jari Fitz picks up another as well. Penalties all over the shop here, Jack. They're really struggling with the track limits.
Yeah, track limits are a real problem around this circuit, and it's showing today. So with the 3-second penalty, that technically puts the net race lead in the hands of the Brazilian Felipe Souza, of course, with the 3 seconds added onto Dormeyer's time. So he's in a comfortable lead. We've got 3 seconds to Jari Fitz behind as well, and 3 seconds penalty to Dormeyer. So there you go. Dormeyer fastest lap to Dylan Warren, and he's on the hard compound tyre. So Dylan's flying today, a new man in that Racing Point, chasing after Jake Benham. And Racing Point look very, very good today. They're sticking with Jake Benham front. He's got Ruben Pedreño behind, but he's got a penalty to add to his time. I want to go back to that pit stop very, very quickly, because that was almost a total disaster for Barry Burman, because he got held in the pit lane and De Capua was released straight into his path. But Barry was about an inch further in front and was given the place, but that could have easily been De Capua to the lead.
It could well have been, and now we're going to come back to Burman now, because he's chasing Jorge Alberola, who's in P7 right now, and of course big tyre differences here, of course, as they wind their way through the quick sections. Certainly Barry looking to try and get himself ahead of this Haas as soon as possible. He has a little look down the inside of Alberola as they make their way through the third sector here in lap 9 of 29. 20 laps remain here, folks, and as we now watch the fast Iranian make his way around Sector 3 now. He's coming through the next left-hander, Jorge Alberola in P7, round the final corner now before they commence their lap 10 of 29. Barry Burman with the DRS opens up now. Surely we'll want to get the job done on Jorge Alberola. Those fast tyres, maybe he'll sit in behind and do it on the next DRS straight as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. Here comes Barry Burman right on the tailgate here of that man. Jorge Alberola opens up the door. Barry Burman and snatches it away. P7 for the McLaren. Steady progress here. Next up, his teammate, Alex O'Grady.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit frustrating for Barry Burman, and he's had to work to get past. But of course, Alessio De Capua has caught him in a worse spot right now. It's a very tricky to overtake through this middle sector, so Barry's got to use this to try and get away from De Capua, break the DRS if he possibly can. Alessio's got to try and get past now, which he's going to do. Stick it up the inside into the chicane, gets it stopped. Lovely overtake from the Italian. But look at that, the gap's out to a second, so he's broken DRS, and all it took was one car to break that crucial DRS. But De Capua ERSs his way back into the detection zone by just under a tenth, and he gets himself back in there by the skin of his teeth. This is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. He needed it, Jack. He needed it. And Longay's doing the same thing now as well. Cruises down the inside of Alberola, heading into Sector 3. The Renault not missing a beat. He is getting closer and closer to De Capua, and I have to say, he has not missed a step on his return. Alberola picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings of track limits as they round the final corner now, down the stretch once again, and it's now a majority hard tyre compound, certainly amongst the classification at this Melbourne circuit, as we have some movements at the back as well. What looks to be, I think, I think that might actually be Simon Weigang making his way through, and it certainly is. He's down in P50, but he's, I think, managed to gain time penalty applied to Luke Smith now, and Weigang able to certainly dispatch Caraton, who might have another go at him here. Down the inside, heading into the right hand, and they touch wheels as they come round now, and a little bit of shake of the tail from Simon Weigang, but it wasn't enough. Caraton dispatches him into P15, and we've lost Luke Smith, Jack. We've lost Luke Smith.
Yeah, but it looks for, I think that was retirement in pit lane, but it looks for it's not going to trigger. As far as I can see, we haven't had a safety car jump here just yet, but I'm not going to count my chickens just yet as Lewis Welch comes around the last corner. And yeah, so we should be fine in that regard. So that's the first retirement. Luke Smith is out of the race, and we carry on in this second to last round of the PSGL PC Championship. But we now have Otmir closing up to Jari Fitz. He's got DRS on that man in front, And we now, as well, at the same time, Barry Burman catching his teammate Alex O'Grady in the second McLaren seat. Smasher picks up a penalty which will be added to his race time. So now Barry's going to be hoping that there's going to be team orders at McLaren for O'Grady to let him through without too much of a fight. Moreno gets through as Jorge Alberola pits for his pit stop, and I think that should be for a front wing as well. I kept trying to see if they're fitting a front wing. No, they're not. Just a scheduled tyre stop at Haas, and Alberola goes on to the medium compound tyre. So that's a scheduled stop. That's a spinner. Weigang around in turn 1.
Yeah, Weigang around in turn 1, folks. That is the story here. And he's just regained himself now, but not a great sight indeed for Simon Weigang, who had such a promising look on his return here. And now he's down, well, certainly down in P15, just ahead of Sam McBride. Not a great day for the Alfa Romeo team right now, as we're watching Barry Burman now whittle his way, try and make his way through the field, certainly on his newer set of hard tyres against some of the rest that are above him here. And certainly he'd be hoping that O'Grady will let him through as they come through the fast chicane now. And Alex O'Grady gets slammed with a 3-second time penalty for his troubles as Barry Burman tries to gain here on the McLaren teammate. He goes down the inside. No movement at all from Alex O'Grady. Team orders. Poetry in motion as now Alex O'Grady tries to cause a nuisance for Alessio Di Capua.
Yeah, that's exactly what Barry wanted. No fight put up by the young Alex O'Grady. Di Capua should be able to get through here. But now, Barry, next car up is Tom Martinez, and the car in front of that is Jarno Watmir. So that's how close Barry is to Watmir and how much it's benefited him under the virtual safety car. Moreno with the fastest lap. Watmir's going to try and get past Jari Fitz right now. Fitz moves out of the way for him on the way down towards turn 3, and through he goes into third place. So there goes Di Capua. He gets himself through past Alex O'Grady, and Longway will now be the next man to try and get through. He's going to cut him in a bad place here, though. That maybe allows Danny Moreno to try and get back in DRS here. Moreno's kind of had a quiet one today, and he's trying to close himself back up to the back of Nicholas Longway, and that gap is just at a second right now, creeps under the second right now. So this little spat with the McLaren is helping Danny Moreno to get himself back into DRS range of the car in front. Longway late lunge, and O'Grady shoves him out wide, and Longway should get through, and he does, but he had to work for it.
He did. He had to work for it, Jack. Alex O'Grady wasn't budging. Jari Fitz with another 3-second time penalty is not enjoying the track limits here at Australia at all. As we now watch Longay try and apply his trade here through Sector 3 now shortly. After passing Alex O'Grady, you'd think Moreno would be the same. And like you quite rightly say, he's managed to rejoin the pack and get himself back in the fight as well. So Moreno with every chance here to upset the numbers. Otmir now trying to gain on what looks to be Felipe Sousa, who's in P2. 5 seconds the difference, however. And that means that Jarno's still got quite a bit to do. It's cascading down to 4, actually. So more like 4 seconds the difference, folks. In behind Jari Fitz, who he just overtook, down in P4. Martinez is in behind him with Barry Burman trying to let fly at that man as well. But don't forget Di Capua. He might get a chance here at certainly here at Burman, as long as he manages to get him when he has not got DRS. But maybe he'll just sit behind Burman, get a tug along.
Yeah, Moreno gets past O'Grady now as well as he chases after Longway in front. But as the chat are pointing out, what Jarno Watmir needs now is a well-timed safety car, because when he comes in, he's going to drop to the very back of the field once again, or near enough to the back of the field. Yes, he'll be on the soft tyre, but that's going to be a lot of work to do for Jarno Watmir to try and get back. That safety car could not come at a better time for Jarno Watmir. It needs to come out relatively soon. Still no sign of the medium runners pitting yet. It's still Andreas Dormeyer who leads this on the track, but on penalties is technically the Brazilian Felipe Sousa who leads this Grand Prix after penalties are applied. No sign of them hitting just yet. They're going to carry on for a few more laps, and we'll see how they'll get on. Otmir in third. He's not able to shake Jari Fitz though at the moment. Fitz is staying with him. There's Tom Martinez, and Barry Burman is flying up to the back of that Ferrari at the moment and is on a big push right now. He's got Di Capua who's getting dragged with him. Longway's there as well, but because of that traffic, Moreno's in there too now.
Yeah, Moreno is certainly another hope for Mercedes, certainly in terms of a podium. And do not count out the machine, Danny Moreno. Many have done. You'd be a fool to do so. And Jake Benham getting through past Alex O'Grady as well. Excellent job indeed from Jake Benham. But we can't take our eyes off what's going on at the top end, certainly when it comes to those that are in front, of course. Barry Burman effectively can lead this race. He just needs to try and whittle his way through. He is gaining on Tom Martinez. And if he can do so, dispatch the Ferrari ASAP. Naturally, he's also getting closer and closer to Jarno Opmeer, who's had a tremendous rise. Despite all this, safety car, like you quite rightly say, Jack, would be extremely useful right now. We are just over the halfway point. Sooner rather than later for Opmeer, he needs something to happen.
Yeah, and Jari Fitz is not making life too easy for him because he's sticking with him at the moment. Tom Martinez 1.9 behind. Barry is 2 seconds behind Tom Martinez. As Dylan Warren, he gets through on Alex O'Grady as well. He's up to now P11 and chases after the car in front. Jari Fitz now dropping outside the second margin as Opmeer tries to find something. What I think he's trying to do is he's trying to go as long as possible, because I think he's silently hoping that a safety car appears for him at some point in this race. He's trying to push this stint as far as he can into this next phase. But looking at Barry Burman, he looks incredibly comfortable at the moment. I'm looking at the ERS levels. Barry on 75%. DeCap was having to work hard. He's on 35% charge. Barry is in full control mode at the moment. He's trying to close up to the back of Tom Martinez and is doing so at a decent rate of knots. He's not far behind Jarno Opmeer. He knows the race is in the palm of his hand. He just needs to make sure there's no mistakes.
Yeah, he hasn't had a very easy ride as well through the latter stages of this championship, Jack. It was all going swimmingly for Barry Burman at the start of the season. He took 3 wins at the very start, of course, with Austria, Hungary and Spain. 16 points each a race, heading to Barry Burman at the start of the season, but it all tailed off as soon as Jarno came into the fold after he did not start Hungary or Spain, came into Spa, and of course took 12 points that day with a win to follow at Zandvoort, his home circuit. But as we make our way through Sector 3 here, in our lap 16 of 29, you can see there that obviously with the fact that DeCap was trying to stay close to him, that could still upset Barry Burman's race here today. But Burman, he's certainly no stranger to certainly competitiveness on a racetrack. He is absolutely scintillating to watch as in they come to box. It's Souza and Jari Fitz. Opmeer opting to stay out.
Yeah, he's going to stay out and extend as long as he can. Barry now within the DRS of the Ferrari in front, so it will be now a case of just trying to negotiate Tom Martinez as quickly as he can, but that puts the gap up to Opmeer at about 4 seconds, so that's how low the gap is. And of course Opmeer is a pit stop behind, because these guys behind have pitted under the virtual safety car, and it came at the perfect time for them to come in, put on a new set of tyres. We've got a yellow in sector number 1, and that is for Ruben Pedreño, who has spun the car, and a virtual safety car appears out on the circuit once again, but it's not going to benefit Opmeer or Dormar, because they are not at the pit entry. And once again the second Red Bull loses their front wing.
They do. Not a great day for Red Bull at all. Smith's already out. Luke Smith out. Pedreño in P12, missing a front wing. And Felipe Souza goes through as well into P12. But look at this, I have to say, the top end still as close as ever. Burman is on top, though, albeit DeCapua trying to make his life a misery. In behind, you've got Nicolas Longue as well, very much in the fold. Danny Moreno trying to bring himself into the race too for certainly the Mercedes team. The Spaniard looking to upset the apple cart as well himself, looking to touch the top step. And you wouldn't count him out. Twice a winner this season in the certainly the PSGL PC Championship. Opmeer has boxed, folks. Opmeer has boxed. And following him in is Martinez, as well as Andreas Dormeyer. He's in the pit too, so plenty in the midst here. And it looks like DeCapua might look to have a go here on Barry Burman as they make their way down the stretch. No, the DRS does not open up here for the Williams. A very clear, calculated manoeuvre there from DeCapua. Not keen to make the overtake just yet.
Oh, so it's Simon Weigang. He's retired from the session as well. He's DNF'd in pit lane. So what a day for Simon Weigang. It's not gone well for him. But that did kind of work for Jarno Opmeer. The virtual safety car was still out when he came into pit lane, and he's now boxed onto the soft tyre, and he's got to bring them 11 laps. This is going to be incredible. He's 4 seconds behind Felipe Souza. And Souza's also on the fresh softs, as is Dormeyer. Now, that's worked out lovely for Andreas Dormeyer. He's on the fresh soft tyres, and now he's going to have such a pace advantage over the cars in front. But that now puts Barry Burman back into the net race lead. To Capua second, Longue third, Moreno fourth, Jake Benham in fifth, and Dylan Warren in P6. Having a great run today, those two. But this is going to be incredible to watch in these last 10 laps.
It certainly will be, and just look at this as well. Just see, Di Capua looks actually like one of the most dangerous drivers you've seen on this circuit right now. He's being very poised, very collected, just waiting for the right moment to strike, and he's also got in behind Nicolas Longue, but look at the tyre wear there, in the 60s for percentages on those hards, but they've still got enough life in them, surely, for the next 10 laps as they come down the next straight now. DRS opened, this time for Alessio Di Capua. Felipe Souza with the fastest lap of the race with a 120.761 in P9, of course. Do not be mistaken, folks. Otmir is in the points as well. Otmir in the points. He's trying to let fly, this time on Felipe Souza, and he's within now, near enough, just under 2.5 tenths of a second. So Otmir working as hard as he can to pull it back. He's on soft tyres. Remember, he'll have those for the next 10 laps. He's going to be quick.
Yeah, and he's on good point. He's on good pace right now at the current championship standings. Gap in favour of Burman by 3 points going into the last round. So Otmir can still turn this around and still lead into the final round, but it will be very, very close going into the last round if it carries on. Dormeyer dispatches Carrots on. I reckon, to tell you what, George, Dormeyer is an outside tip right here.
He is indeed, Jack, because like you say, he boxed when he did. A great opportunity here, and in comes Felipe Souza. He makes a move on Carroton and moves his way up into P8. Otmir will be next as well. He's cutting the gap all the time. He's flying right now. Otmir is flying, and he's trying to get as close as he can to the rear of that Williams. Of course, Carroton on the hard tyres. He will be at a pace disadvantage here, and we can judge the pace, certainly, of the hard tyres against the softs based on how quickly Otmir comes into focus, and there he is in the rear, folks. Otmir on an absolute charge right now, and do not write him off, folks, but like you quite rightly say, Jack, could be advantage Dormeyer at the end of this race.
Yeah, but of course with the penalty, I've totally forgotten about the Brazilian driver that's sitting right behind him. Felipe Souza is the man on an absolute charge right now. He's in the box seat nearly on those fresh, soft tyres, and he's chasing after the cars in front. Dylan Warren is next up, but of course Otmir is flying behind. He's closing up a big time to the guys in front. Jake Benham gets a penalty now as well. That's not going to help his charge to try and catch up to the guys in front, but it's still advantage Barry Burman. But this is so intriguing to watch, and to think that Jarno Otmir even started last and he's in the points is enough, but he could still make it even better for himself today.
Yeah, he'll be very proud certainly of what he's done despite starting from the back of the grid. 10 places is absolutely mesmeric, but you'd be a fool not to think that he'd get more. I have to say, as he makes his way through the final sector, 9 laps left in this hellacious Australian Grand Prix, coming through the final sector, and there you can see Otmir. He's caught right up with Alvaro Carroton. He's right on the rear here of that man in the Williams. Today you can see the cameras were riding on board with Jarno Otmir. The Flying Dutchman heading down towards turn 1 has a perfect view of the Williams in front of him here, and just look at the pace he's carrying through the corners. The grip levels are absolutely outstanding as we're now watching them head down towards the next right-hander at turn 3. Here comes the Mercedes now. Alvaro Carroton locking up into the next right, and certainly Otmir ever so smooth heading through these bends. Time penalty applied for Lewis Welch. It has not gone his way today. He is right at the back end of the field with only Pedreño at the very back behind him. But just look at this. He's closing at a rate of knots. Otmir on a charge, Jack.
He really is. If he gets past Carroton, gap in the championship is 1 point in favour of Barry. If he gets past Felipe Souza, it will be equal. So this is so tight in this one, and this will set it up beautifully going into Brazil. So he needs to get as many positions up as he possibly can, and Otmir should get Carroton now through the chicane. Look at the grip advantage. Carroton could do nothing. He moves out of the way for Jarno Otmir, and that now, championship 1 point in favour of Barry Burman.
It certainly is. It's getting closer and closer. Imagine it, folks. Can you just picture it for a moment as Sam McBride gets a 3-second time penalty? Brazil next week. take. It could well be equal points. Burman Otmir fighting for the title. And what could that mean heading in to Brazil? Amazing. I have to say, I tell you what, keep tuned into this one, folks. It's going to be absolutely fantastic as Otmir comes through turns 1 and 2. He is now trying to close up on Felipe Sousa. Ahead of him, you got Andreas Dormeyer, as well as Warren, who's up in P6, having the race of his life right now. And as we now watch them head through Sector 1 into Sector 2, Burman still on top, but Alessio Di Capua is hot on his tail.
Yeah, it is super close at the moment. It's intriguing to watch all the way through this Grand Prix. Either way, whether my calculations are correct or not, it's going to be super tight going into the last round or so. It will be mere single digits separating Barry and Otmir going into the next round, the last round of the championship. It will be 3 points, separating Otmir and Barry at the moment going into the final round at Brazil. So it is incredibly close at the moment, and there's only a few laps left right now. Barry's still under severe pressure from Alessio Di Capua going into these last few laps. He's holding on at the moment very nicely. Otmir now 2.3 behind Felipe Sousa. Dormeyer is 2.1 behind Dylan Warren, but of course the penalty will affect him, and of course Otmir, after the penalty is applied to Andreas Dormeyer, that's an extra position for him, and that's extra points in his favour.
It is, absolutely, and it all contributes to this fantastic title battle that we have. And certainly I tell you what, the great moments just keep on coming, folks. Absolutely, it writes itself. What a story, I have to say. And this is the beauty of esports, and certainly Formula One in esports as well, given the fact that you can absolutely paint a mesmeric tale, certainly to rival that of real Formula One, certainly with these drivers who are absolutely masters of their craft. As we now watch Burman head through this middle sector, time penalty applied to Philip Presnader. Again, a frustrating day for Ferrari, as now Burman still leads the way. What absolute pace this man has got, managing to keep the ever prominent Di Capua at bay. We've lost Jake Benham, he's out of the session, as Dylan Warren manages to dispatch that man. Jake Benham as well took full advantage, and Dylan Warren up into P5. He could effectively, Jack, have his race of the season here today.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, penalties-wise, that'll get Jarno Otmir in the top 5. This is incredible at what's happening right now. It'll now go advantage Otmir if it stays the way it is, because all the guys in front have got penalties, so Otmir can pick up P5 if he keeps his head down. Dormeyer dispatches Jake Benham, who's disconnected from the session. Otmir can get him here, but it will still mean that Jarno Otmir will lead the championship, but the gap will be single digits going into the last one.
It will be. It's going to be so tight, guys. So tight. Everyone at home, I tell you what, if you're not subscribing for this, I don't know what you're going to do. As we're now watching them just literally cascade through Sector 2 now. Very shortly, lap 24 of 29 here, folks. Burman still leads. Just over half a second, the difference between Di Capua as Otmir moves up into what looks to be P8. Excellent work from Jarno Otmir. Goes ahead of Jake Benham, at least for now. Once again, taking advantage. More points go to Jarno as they now make their way down through this next left-hander between turns 10 and 11, very shortly through the fast chicane of turns 11 and 12, and into the final sector again, and the Flying Dutchman is doing just that, absolutely flying with 5 laps left to go.
Yeah, now I'll go back to the front as Longo is all over Di Capua through the middle sector. He's really trying to get past the Italian right here. I think Di Capua made an error in the chicane, and Longo almost pounced on him there, but managed to defend. But that's allowed Barry just a tiny bit of breathing space. It is very small, but it's enough. And those guys with the soft tires are bearing down on the guys in front. They're absolutely nearly with them. There's a few laps left to go. The hard tires are 18 laps old. Dormeyer is 0.8 of a second behind Dylan Warren. He's got penalties. Felipe Sousa is currently in the top 5. Otmir's chasing him down behind. This could be an amazing result for these guys. It's not all over just yet. Just hang on.
No, absolutely. It's going to go right to the wire. There you can see this tussle in the midfield. There's Otmir chasing Felipe Sousa in the AlphaTauri as they come through. Now through the middle sector. Here's Otmir now cruising through. This is Felipe Sousa as we head through the next chicane. This time at turns 9 and 10. He is trying to garner his way up through Andreas Dormeyer, who of course has fresh softs as well. There's a clear battle between these three, that's for sure. All of them on equal tyre sets. Jarno in behind as well, making his way through the fast chicane, heading out into into sector 3 now. But look at this, I've got to say, what a job by the Racing Point team, Jack. Sensational stuff. Warren and Dormeyer have pulled off a clinic.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they got penalties, and now Dormeyer is going to try and get past Dylan Warren right here. That's the leaders in front of them. I tell you what, Otmir's not out of this yet. He's right there in the background. He could really cause an upset. If these guys catch up, they could really take an upset victory here. The man in the box seat with the penalty free at the moment on those fresh soft tyres is Felipe Sousa, the Brazilian. Dormeyer with penalties. Warren is in front right now. He's got to try and defend sector 3. Freshnader is out to the race. Safety car. The safety car appears at the last moment possible. That is incredible. Once again, we have Philip Preissner DNFing, and the safety car appears for the second week running. What is going on?
Safety car in this race. Philip Preissner is out of the Grand Prix, and that might be the cherry on the absolute cake. It's going to be a case, surely, Jack, surely. They're going to all put on fresh, soft tyres. It's going to be a final 3 laps of magic. Otmir is up in P8. The grid are going to be so closely bunched together. The championship fight could well be on. There could be anything could happen now in these final 3 laps, of course, but this might only leave, based on the safety car being out, maybe 1 lap of racing left at the end of this race.
I think we're gonna get a lap behind the safety car, and then we're gonna go green for the last couple of laps. I think that's probably what we're gonna get, but I'm not sure. What do these guys do now? They're on 19-lap-old hard tires, and these guys can now close up with these fresh softs. Now, let's see what the leaders are going to do. Does Barry box? No, there's no point with so little time left. This is not going to work out for them. So who's going to box? I doubt anybody's going to box, if I'm honest.
No.
They're all going to stay out. There's just so little time left. Why would you in these last few laps? So that's going to put now Barry P1, DeCapua P2, Longue 3rd, Moreno 4, Dylan Warren in P5, but of course he's on. Otmir's in the pit lane. Otmir's is boxing for another set of soft tyres. Has he got the gap to come out in the points? I think he does, and that might have been a very late call from Mercedes. He's come in with the gap behind to come out in P10, so an interesting call from Mercedes. He's going to be able to close back up immediately, and he'll have brand new soft tyres once again. An interesting call from Merck, but I tell you what, that could work.
Jack, he's not lost a lot. He's not lost a lot. He's in P10, and he's going to slot right in behind Tom Martinez. Remember, the cars in front, all of them on very well-worn tyres. Otmir has the fastest compound. 2 laps left, and absolutely could be a masterstroke here from the Dutchman. And I gotta say, this is not over yet, folks. Of course, if we do get 2 laps at the end of this race, Jarno, of course, just needs to get himself back with the pack ASAP. And I tell you what, do not step away. Do not throw away your tickets. This is it. And now the safety car is in this lap, Jack. The safety car is in this lap. If Jarno can get on the rear of this sort of contingent of cars.
He's there.
Yeah, there he is, Jack. Unbelievable scenes. I cannot believe what we're about to see. It's going to be absolutely sensational.
Yeah, this is going to be incredible because, of course, Tom Martinez has penalties. That's already P9 for Jarno Otmir. Caratone's on 20-lap-old hard tyres. That's basically a no contest. So that's a very smart call from Jarno and Merck together, because there was no loss. They've got no penalty, so I mean, they can do what they like, but we're about to get back underway for a 2-lap sprint to the end. It's Barry in control, DeCapua P2, Otmir on brand new soft tyres in P10. Settle in. Here goes Barry. Green flag drops. 2 laps to go.
Yes, pedal to the metal for the second time in this Grand Prix. Barry Burman getting away well. Not very quick, though, for Alessio DeCapua with Longue warming up the tyres in behind. In comes Otmir straight away. Straight to the jugular, he says. He goes up into P9. Brilliant work there for the Dutchman. And he flies again. He has got Caraton right ahead of him here. Smartly dispatched. The Dutchman flies down down the outside, heading into what will be turn 3. Brilliant from Jarno. 2 places gained. Pace in abundance. The Mercedes is on a flyer, Jack.
Yeah, and remember, of course, there's no DRS because we've been behind the safety car, so he's got to get it done in the corners as we go to another penalty for Dylan Warren. That's not going to go well for him. We're going to have 1 lap to go across the line next time by. Opmeer he still will lead the championship going into Brazil, but the question is by how much going into the start. Here he comes, although he's tapped Sousa in the back. He goes sideways, so close between the both of them, just the pace advantage. It was Opmeer getting caught out with the pace disadvantage by Sousa. Here he comes through the chicane. He's absolutely no contest once again. Here comes Opmeer inside line. Sousa's going to try and defend with everything he's got. This is for position in this Grand Prix. Opmeer late on the brakes, up the inside. Sousa fights it. He can't though. Up to P7 goes Jarno Opmeer, and that will be P5 after penalties.
Absolutely mega stuff here. We're going to be certainly heading out here on another lap, and certainly as we now witness them head round now the final lap. Here comes Jarno again. The Flying Dutchman on the final lap goes clear of Andreas Dormeyer on the fresh soft tyres into turn 1 now. Warren up next. Half a second the deficit. It's coming down by the moment. Jarno flying here with 1 lap left on the final lap, should I say. The Dutchman straight for the jugular goes up to P5 behind his teammate Danny Moreno. A sensation, a marvel, magnificent. It's Jarno up into P4. Magic here in the Australian Grand Prix.
Team orders at Mercedes, and I wouldn't count out a podium yet. This is sensational from Jarno Opmeer. Let's watch as we come through the last few sectors. Barry's gonna watch his mirrors here. Here he goes through the chicane over towards the last few corners right now. Longway's in trouble now as they come towards the chicane. No DRS for Jarno Opmeer just yet. Settle in. Watch the deficit as they come to the chicane. Into the left, into the right. Here comes Opmeer. He's gonna get it sideways with the overtake on. He's gonna try and get through P3 from Nicholas Longway. He defends the inside. Here he goes. He gets it done. P3 and a podium for Jarno Opmeer. Sensational overtake in the last few corners. But wow, what has gone on from last on the grid to P3? But it will be Barry Bourmand who wins the Australian Grand Prix. De Capua is second. Opmeer, sensational P3.
Absolutely pandemonium here in Australia. Jarno Opmeer, I have never seen anything like this in all my life. The history of commentating on league racing, esports, my mind has been absolutely obliterated. Jarno Opmeer, the Flying Dutchman, last to a podium, P3. If that does not make your mind explode, folks, I do not know what will. The Flying Dutchman has done it in superior fashion into P3. Bourmand has won the Grand Prix, but what a mesmeric performance, Jack. No question. Driver of the day.
Wow, Jarno Opmeer. I mean, that's going to make for a hell of a YouTube video. Last to third, it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, here at PSGL. And he takes a 6-point lead into the last round. That's incredible. That's a sensational drive from Jarno Opmeer. Last up to third. Beautiful strategy call. Even the game gave it to him in that last one. But that is one of the drives of the season, if not the drive of the season that I've seen from that man. Disconnects in qualifying, starts last, drives through the P3, deals with the safety car, and comes out in P3. But we cannot take Barry Bourmand did everything he possibly could to take that win. De Capua stays in second place, but the championship is still in favour of Jarno Opmeer with 6 points in his favour.
Jack, I just got to digest that for a moment. We're going to read the classification, folks, but Barry Bourmand P1 with a victory, and he's going to go all the way to Brazil, and probably for everyone at home who are racing fans, that is probably the best result you could wish for. We are going to the last race at Brazil with the title up for grabs. Alessio Di Capua in P2, with Jarno Opmeer in P3, Nicholas Longay in P4, Danny Moreno in P5, Felipe Sousa in P6, Alvaro Caraton P7, Andreas Dormeyer P8, Tom Martinez in P9, Dylan Warren in P10, Jake Benham in P11. Of course, we got CRG Smasher in P12, Sam McBride doing exceptionally well on his first visit despite all the chaos. Alex O'Grady, the youngster, 12 years of age, P13, an amazing first visit for him too. Jorge Albarola, P14, Yari Fitz in P15, Lewis Welch, P16, just did not go right for him, but he got the fastest lap. Ruben Pedreño on his first outing did not manage to get a positive result, P17 on the night, and we lost Philip Prejnader, Simon Weigang, and of course, Luke Smith as well. But folks, honestly, I very, very rarely, okay, do we see stuff like that in league racing? And for that, if you want to watch that again, I highly recommend you do. You will never see anything quite like that ever again. Of course, it can be topped. He could have got P2. He could have got the win. But P3 from the back of the grid around a track like Australia doesn't offer the most overtaking opportunity. Certainly with a grid like this, where you have the cars that are so, you're driven by exceptional talents that are pros at what they do. That's just different. That is sensational. That is sensational. That alone, absolutely outstanding. I tell you what, if that is a true testament to what we do here in league racing, then I tell you what, that just does it for me. I got to say, Jack, amazing stuff. We'll never see that again, will we?
Oh, I don't know. I said at the start this was going to be the race of the season, and I was right. Otmir, I mean, despite everything thrown at him, he still pulled it out of the bag. Genius strategy call right there to pit under the safety car for the fresh soft tyres and side his way through the field. I tell you what, if there was a lap left, he'd have led that Grand Prix, and I will bet my life on that with the DRS enabled. But the DRS not being there, I think hampered him in a way. But wow, just incredible. But we've got some guys standing by, George. Barry and Jarno are waiting in the wings, and I mean, I think we've taken away from the fact that Barry's won this Grand Prix. We just witnessed something sensational.
Well, I mean, Jack, I'm actually very often, I'm a talker, right? And very rarely am I lost for words, but on this occasion, I think I might be, which doesn't bode well for an interview. But we're going to have two of our podium sitters and certainly the winner as well. But we're going to start, of course, with Barry. Barry, an amazing race. You took advantage at the end of the day. You did what needed to be done. You must be delighted with the victory. You go into the last race of the season with the title potentially up for grabs.
Hello to everyone. But I should say, it's not the way I think everyone really wanted, and even me. We knew Jarno had a problem, and even if I finish ahead of him, even by one chance, if I win the championship, it's still not going to be it's still not the win, because you have to, in my opinion, it is my opinion, I don't know what everyone is thinking, but Jarno had a really unlucky moment, and to be honest, I should say, because he's here as well, he's a monster, and as I said, the last races as well, like, to be fair, there is no shame to lose a challenge to a world champion. But yeah, as I said, this race wasn't really win, in my opinion, because, I think I'm here to fight with Jarno if I can, because, he's best in this game, at least we can say this. But yeah, feel so down for him, and yeah, but if I want to speak about the race, quali lap wasn't really ideal. First sector, second sector, I really made a mistake, which wasn't ideal. But in the race, I really knew no one could overtake anyone in this race. So I decided to save my tires, save my ERS in case any weird situation just happened. And yeah, at the end, just managed to finish P1, but it's still so down for Jarno. We all know how good he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's obviously heartbreaking to have it happen in that fashion, but at the same time, let's not take anything away from your performance, Barry. Obviously, heading in to the first corner, you did what needed to be done. You stayed ahead of Alessio. It looked like Alessio was going to challenge you heading into turn one, but nevertheless, you were absolutely sensational in doing what you did and claiming the victory. Naturally, you're probably favorited by the people right now. We have got a championship battle at Brazil. What are your thoughts heading into that? Are you feeling confident now? Obviously, Jarno, we all know about him, world champion, but it sets up an amazing finish, doesn't it? And at least if we didn't see the battle between you two directly tonight, I'm sure we will get a chance to see it at Brazil. You must be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I always love Brazil, but yeah, as I said again, even if I win the championship by any chance, it's still not gonna be the same feeling, because we are new. Like Jan, he's finishing first or second, but now he finished third because only he lost to third in Australia, which is crazy. But yeah, as I said, we move on. I'm gonna do absolute my best. But yeah, as I said, there is no shame even if I lose it to Jarno. But still, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do absolute my best, and let's see what's gonna happen. And yeah.
Well, I got to say, great drive, and I got to say, ever humble as well. You seem to be very well prepared heading out on track. Was there a lot of hours burning? Were you preparing heavily for this race at the start?
Yeah, definitely, because I knew like Australia, if I lose it, then the championship is done. But at the end, I knew like quality is the most important thing in this track. But still, I little bit made a mistake. I don't know if Jarno was in the quali, he could beat it or not, but yeah, the lap wasn't really ideal, like, because in the practice, I already tweeted, like, I did 0.749, I think, which is really insane lap, but I was consistently doing 0.8, 0.9, but yeah, sometimes, the last 4 races, I did a really good job in the quali, but yeah, sometimes you made a mistake, sometimes in that moment, you make that mistake. But it's still, yeah, I just take it and then, yeah, finish the race, really manage the race. But yeah, but looking forward to Brazil and hopefully have a clean race and no issue for Jarno, and we can have a really nice battle in Brazil.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I got to say, I suppose a very humble Barry Burman to say the least, but congratulations on the win nevertheless, Barry. We'll look forward to Brazil next week. But in the meantime, enjoy your victory, my friend. We'll see you next week. And look forward to that one. But yeah, well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Next up, we have the man himself, folks. And I know you've all been waiting for this in the live chat. Jarno, welcome to the commentary box, my friend. You must have been absolutely pushing it to the max out there. Sensational.
Yeah, I mean, after qualifying, I knew I was hoping for a late safety car and exactly in my pit window as well, which unfortunately didn't come. And then I did a little bit of an advantage with the virtual safety car where I kind of like had half the pit lane as my advantage. But yeah, then at late safety car, I just wasn't sure if I had to pit or not. And took the risk, hoped I was only going to lose 2 positions instead of 4, because I was definitely going to lose 4 if no one went into the pits. Luckily, 2 behind me went into the pits as well. So yeah, then I only lost 2 positions and I could just absolutely hammer it until the end of the race on new softs. So yeah, literally absolute insane last 2 laps of racing. I don't know, we only raced 2 laps, right, in the end? 2, right?
It was, yeah, 2 final laps, yeah, after you pitted.
Yeah, so
extraordinary.
From P10 to P3 in 2 laps, was just absolutely nuts. I had so much more grip than everyone else. And luckily catched up to everyone at the right moment and yeah, pushed my balls off.
Yeah, what was that decision like making going into the pits with those final few laps left? You must have been, was it an absolute decision that you knew you were going to do it, or were you sort of split in your mindset? Did you consider staying out, or did you think, no, I'm absolutely going to go for the box here?
Yeah, I was considering staying out, but I also had to make this quite early pit stop because of the VSC, as I planned to go until the end of lap 21 initially. So softs were gonna be at a risk of a puncture even with the safety car, I think so. So yeah, decided to make the pit stop and then hope I didn't lose the 4 positions and ended up only losing 2 luckily. So GG to Barry as well for taking advantage from today. I mean, did everything right. I think he led the whole race, so he took good advantage from that. I think he had a pretty calm race from there on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw your pace on the soft tires coming out. I mean, like you said before, you were literally pushing the cars in front of you. I mean, I saw you with Felipe Sousa heading through turns 9 and 10, and on that stretch heading through towards turns 11 and 12. I mean, at the same time, it must have been scary because you were carrying a lot of that pace. You must have been fearing for your front wing on a few occasions because you did. I think there was a little moment, wasn't there, where you had a little connection there with Felipe?
Yeah, I hoped Felipe was going to open up a little bit more, and he didn't. And I think there's a little bit more ping between us than to others, because we live quite far apart. So anyway, I think I was a little bit too close for comfort anyway. But yeah, I hoped he was going to open up, and so I could sneak through, but he closed the door, and then I think he had a little moment, but I don't think it was too bad.
No, it was very well done indeed. And obviously, Danny Moreno then, of course, doing the noble thing and doing the team orders, which was brilliant. But now, of course, what this does mean is that we're going to have a phenomenal battle heading into the last race of the season, which I don't think anyone rightly predicted, to be honest with you. I think everyone thought that you would come here today and take the championship. But what this means now is that we've got effectively a final race. And it sort of brings back memories, a title battle into Brazil, doesn't it? But this time it's going to be yourself and Barry again at this very hellacious Interlagos circuit. Confidence levels now, obviously you must be very confident after doing a race like that when everything was pretty much set against you after the unfortunate technical issues in qualifying. Naturally, it's great from a spectator standpoint, isn't it?
I hope it is. I hope it's not going to be as close as in 2008 between Hamilton and Massa. But,
we haven't got a Glock, though. We haven't got a Glock this time.
Yeah, but someone else can be Glock for sure.
True, very true. But thoughts, though, heading into Barry, you two will be crossing swords, and hopefully we'll see a fair fight this time. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, of course. I think there's 6 points separated now.
Approximately.
If I'm correct.
Jack, is that correct?
I hope so. I hope my maths are right. I think it's 6 points, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be a tight one. I need to basically finish P2, whatever he does. So yeah, it's definitely going to be really hard, for sure.
Well, we're going to look forward to it. But congratulations, Jarno. An amazing drive, and one we're not going to forget at all. Probably a performance, probably best performance I've ever seen, to be quite frank. So, and my driver of the day as well. So congratulations, Jarno, and we'll see you next week at Brazil.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jack. Honest to God, when's it gonna stop, my friend? Honestly, I was hoping we'd have peace and quiet, right, heading towards the end of the season. I thought, yeah, Jarno, he's gonna win the title. Yes, of course he will. Yeah, he won't let me down. I'm gonna win the pundit prediction this week. Instead, you jammy sod, you've taken it off me. Finally got on a win for yourself this season.
Yes, Barry.
Amazing. But honestly, we're going to Brazil now next week on Thursday. Title on the line. Last race of the season. PSGL, its first PC championship. You just don't write stories like that, do you? That's just magic.
No, yeah, it's incredible. Actually, I've just scrolled down, Jordan. I think we've left someone in the rating room. Tom Martinez is standing by.
Should we invite him in?
Let's get him in. Let's for a little chat.
Yeah, here he is. Tom Martinez. Can you hear us, sir?
Even the best will last.
Sorry, my friend. I do apologise, I have to say. But
George was ignoring you, Tom. Sorry.
Well, I did not know he was there, Jack. Do not make it sound as blunt as that. We like our friend
No, you're
Tom.
ignoring him. Just be real.
I felt like stepping in today. I felt like it. Why not?
Well, I got to say, Tom, it's nice to have you on board. And naturally, probably one of the most dramatic Australian Grand Prix races of all time. Maybe just talk us through your race, of course, because obviously you had a different perspective. You've been sort of trying to push Ferrari back into the right frame of mind, because things haven't been easy for you this season. But just talk us through your race. Naturally, qualifying didn't quite go to plan, but you were right up in the thick of it midway through the race.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't do any practice. Unfortunately, stuff came up today. I wasn't able to get any laps done, so I literally hopped in. Hence why in Q1 I was just going around on the medium tyre, trying to get some kind of knowledge, and I didn't have a setup really either. So qualifying was more just like practice for me, just trying to get into the zone. I actually missed out on Q2 by a tenth and a half, so it wasn't too bad. And then the race, starting the hard tyre, I knew Jarno would get by it at some point. And then I was like, right, okay, if I can just stick with him, follow what he's doing. I know he's not the kind of guy to push like crazy or drain his ERS, for example. He tends to save a lot and save his tires. So I knew, okay, I'm going to have to work here, but I can probably stick with him. And it worked pretty well up until I think it was like lap 15, 16, tires started to go. And then eventually I fell out as he started to push. But that strategy worked well. You know, the VSCs happened as well, got a cheap pit stop. And it was really going so well, to be fair. I think in hindsight, if I'd pit with Jarno, because I was 5 seconds behind, I should have pit with like 3 laps to go with him, and I could have actually finished a lot higher. So yeah, it was a good race. It was pretty manic. You know, I saw a few things happen, a few spins and stuff. So yeah, it was a crazy race.
Yeah, it just seemed to me that everyone seemed to carry the pace, but obviously with such a pace that you have through a race such as that, Australia is very unforgiving, and naturally track limits tend to be pushed. I think Jari Fitz unfortunately picked up quite a few, which certainly hampered his race. But naturally, I can't speak enough highly about you, Tom, because naturally, I always see it. You look at content creators, naturally your job is a lot different to a lot of these guys who are pushing for the likes of Challenger Series and that of F1 Esports. And we saw you having a crack at the Challengers. Obviously, did see a video to that. Obviously, that's another story. But, you know, at the same time, the fact that you're able to keep up and up to the level is absolutely astounding. And I've seen you race, obviously, in AOR. I had the fortune to commentate you through Squad Sprint as well. And I find your pace extraordinary for someone who tends to focus his life on producing content for Formula One. I mean, do you ever get to the point where you must feel the pressure on that basis?
Yeah, for sure. Originally, I retired from league racing. I don't do too bad for an old bloke, considering how young a lot of the grid is. I think
I'm sure you're younger than me, my friend.
14 to 16. Yeah, of course. You know, I think nowadays it seems like most races are a lot younger, well below 20. I think, for example, you know, Dylan, I think he's 14 or 16. Warren, I think, Smasher, who was racing today as well, I think he's in that age. So yeah, the old guys can still throw down. And with league racing, it was more of like, okay, I'm just going to do it to enjoy, to kind of take a break from the constant career mode. And then I just kind of gradually got that competitive fire back. And now it is at a point now where I feel that pressure. Squad Sprint definitely helped, competing, you know, with big names in that series as well. And who knows, if next year's game takes a step in the right direction, it kind of suits me a bit more. You never know. Maybe another step forward next year. I think it helped compared to 2019. The removal of the ballast on the setup has been a big thing for me this year, hence why I'm able to compete a lot higher this year. So you never know, I might be continuing this going into next year.
Yeah, well, we certainly hope so. I mean, you've been absolutely astounding, and your finishes have been you know quite positive if you look at it on paper. I mean, you've had numerous points finishes. Obviously, at the start of the season, Austria was a good one for you. You picked up a point in Spa, 3 points in Italy as well, and more recently picking up points at a very difficult Abu Dhabi circuit. I mean, against a grid such as this, you can't be disappointed with form like that.
No, I think the one thing I'm not happy about this season is my penalties. I've got one too many. I was my backbone and my strongest thing when I won the AOR Championship was not getting penalties and, you know, just keeping a consistency and picking up points where others drop down. And I've not been able to replicate that. I think part of that is down to the fact that the level is so high in this league. So you're just done 110% every single lap. Therefore, you're more prone to a couple more errors. But in general, it's been a good season. But I have left some points on the board, put it that way. Like even today, I think I wish I'd pit with Jarno. I could have got a few points today. But still, we live and learn.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we still got one more race at Brazil, and what a way to cap off it will be if you can get yourself up in the points as well. Maybe even a podium, Tom. You never know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've had a couple freak podiums in other competitive leagues this year. I had one in RL in Abu Dhabi in not the last season before that. And it was a similar grid to this one, but, you know, penalties and stuff, it just went my way. It's going to be tough, though. I think Brazil, the gaps, the margins are going to be ridiculous. I think it's going to be one of them ones where 1,000 could see you knocked out if Q1 or Q2 or Q3, or, you know, not getting a good result in Q3. So it's going to be a tough one for sure. And I'm hopeful that my teammate Philip can have a good race as well, because he was so unlucky today. So yeah, I'm rooting for Philip to have a strong final race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a great way to cap off. I think a difficult Ferrari season. Of course, Philip unfortunately not able to capitalise since his win at Spa. But I want to say, Thomas, you've been absolutely phenomenal this season. I really hope we do get you back next year as well. And certainly, I'm sure you'll continue to amaze us if you do as well. So, congratulations again on a good run this season. But look forward to seeing you next week in Brazil, I hope.
Yeah, thank you very much, and keep the good work up, guys.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you. And if you guys haven't checked out Tom's channel as well, please make sure you head over to his YouTube channel and check him out. He's also live on Twitch quite a lot as well, so do check him out. Very good content creator, and is part of the Veloce franchise as well. But Jack, absolutely amazing, I have to say, brilliant to have all these superior drivers in this league. But we've got one more story to tell, obviously, at Interlagos. Obviously, heading into it, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what we can expect next week. Still plenty in the offing, but great to see some of the new guys coming in as well, because I felt there were some good performances. I mean, despite Alex O'Grady finishing where he did, for a youngster at 12 years of age, he was up there. He was fighting.
Yeah, it's a good sign for the future when you start young and get them going. You know, as Tom mentioned, you know, you've got Dylan Moore and all those guys kind of around the 14 to 16 age bracket, and then you go even younger, Alex O'Grady at 12. So they are getting younger each year, and the level of talent is also increasing the younger they get as well, which is incredible, and it's a great way for them to learn to battle with the very, very best on the platform as well. But yeah, we've got just one more race to go, unfortunately, at Brazil. Jarno Opmeer, he leads the championship by now 6 points. Now, that's still a big advantage within this point system, because even if Barry were to win, if Jarno was second, he'd still get it by 2 points. So it is going to be incredibly, incredibly important. Barry has still got to win next week. Jarno's got to be lower than second.
He does. And I have to say, you're on the edge of your seat, folks. And naturally, if it's going to go the way we expect it to, we firmly want to see the pair of them dueling it out on track, and that's exactly what I think the people want to see. Just incidentally, folks, we've got plenty of viewers still left on the channel. I want to see in the live chat, predict to us now who you think is going to be world champion at the end of the race at Brazil, of course, next week. Hammer that live chat now, folks. All of you who are currently watching, hit it up now, and we'll go through the list and sort of take a poll as to who you think are going to be hitting the top spot. Naturally now, you couldn't get it more closer. Barry and Jarno to the end at Brazil. Who is going to get the win, or who is going to win the championship? Billy Roonan has come out with Jarno. So interesting there already. Just keep hammering it, folks. We want to hear from you who you think is going to take the top end. Nilsen has gone with Jarno as well. Amazing to see more and more saying Jarno. Obviously, after a performance like that, Jack, you can't really blame them, can you?
No, not really. And I've actually just been doing some more calculation. It's actually got to be Jarno's got to finish off the podium in order for Barry to win the championship. So there's a lot at stake, because if I'm looking at the points correctly, if it was Barry who wins with Jarno in third place, they'd finish equal, but Jarno would win on countback because he's got one more victory.
Well, there you go. That's how tight it is, folks. And I mean, look at this. Nilsen saying, I mean, the World Championship overtook people like he played on 10AI. It was a bit like that. I think, obviously, the benefit for Jarno at that point in time, nevertheless, you can't downplay it. He was on fresher softs against those that were on, I would say, scrub hard tyres as well, but nevertheless, do not take anything away from Jarno's performance. Absolutely sensational. With those dying laps remaining, 2 laps to go, it still takes an awful lot of bottle to make those overtakes happen, and it's the right move to make. A strategy masterclass by everyone who did not expect it. Everyone thought pitting would be the wrong thing to do, but there again, that just shows the absolute still-minded view, the absolute mechanic behind the speed of Jarno Opmeer, in order to take that sort of knowledge that he's garnered over the many years that he's competed at this level of esports and make those decisive moves in this race. He did it. And you can't take that away from him. And that's what gave him the podium. And probably, he'd say it himself, Jack, he may even take that over a victory on level playing field. You know, certainly a performance. If you're looking at it from a performance angle, I think he'd be more proud of what he did today.
Yeah, I think you could hear it in his voice as well in the interview. He was kind of out breathless. Yeah, I don't think he could quite believe that he'd actually done it, because he made up 7 places in 2 laps. I mean, that's incredible driving and decisive overtaking as well. Like in the last 3 corners, still didn't give up and got past Longa and got himself on the podium. But I did say last week that this week would be different for the simple reason that nobody has ever won more than 3 in a row. And that stat will now stand because we've only got one round left, of course. Barry Burman went 3 in a row at the start of the year. Yarno went 3 in a row, but they never, ever went 4 in a row. So there's our little stat going forward. Nobody's ever won more than 3 in a row in PSGL PC. It always gets flipped on its head, but it's still very much advantage Yarno. So Yarno, I think it's in his hands. But Barry, I mean, if he doesn't win next week, it's basically all said and done. But I could be wrong.
Well, it's all going to be a tense build-up, folks. I personally can't wait. I can't believe that we're going to have to wait 7 days for the grand finale, Jack. It's absolutely frustrating, but Brazil is going to be next week, and we can't wait to see it happen. But yeah, I have to say, it's going to be fascinating. But folks, I hope you all enjoyed that tonight. If you haven't done so already, I really hope you have done. Smash a like on this stream. Don't forget to subscribe to the PSGL channel as well to make sure you stay up to date to all live streams as well. Bear in mind, PSGL broadcast PlayStation and PC racing as well from many different tiers. Racing never stops here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. Don't forget as well to check them out on Twitter. That's, well, certainly if you type in PSGL, you will find it, or PS Gaming League as well, or Premier Sim GL. That's the @ tag that you can get. You can also find me on Twitter as well, at George Morgan TV. They are, of course, on the left-hand side. You can also check out Jack Canan as well, my co-commentator at Jack C Comms. And you're more than welcome to leave us messages, comments. We'd like to hear from you, of course. Please do not hesitate to get in contact. I hope you've all enjoyed the coverage here. Today, it was Barry Burman who took victory to take it to Brazil. But Jarno Watmere, what a fight from P20 to P3. We'll see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.